and you're watching to the Black Eagles podcast, a Beşiktaş talk show.
Ahmet Dursun Sergen aldı. Sergen Bülent yan yana. Sergen Bülent. Sergen. Yanında Tümer var. Tümer'e doğru aksın kaybetti. Tümer topu aldı. Sergen aldı. Gol! Gol! Gol! Sergen attı. Sergen attı. Şampiyonluk geldi. Sergen attı. Şampiyonluk geldi.
İbrahim'in pası. Zuma. Şimdi Ahmet. İkinci gole gidiyor Beşiktaş. Ahmet. Ve
Hello, Black Eagles. Welcome back to the Black Eagles podcast. Happy New Year to everyone. I hope you had fantastic holidays. But Beşiktaş is still the same old, same old. Things are not exactly changing quickly. And we will talk about that in a moment. But before I get to that, let me introduce my co-hosts from New York City, New York. My good long-time friend. We've known each other for, I think this year, Sinan, it's going to be 20 years that we've known each other. So my co-host, Sinan Schwarting. Welcome to the show, Sinan. We haven't heard from you since the Friday before the election, so the 27th of December. Maybe in a second you can give us your quick thoughts on the elections. But before we do that, let's introduce the other sides to the coin.
Glaswegian.
Our Glaswegian professor of FODMAP, Kartal Oer. Kartal, how are you, sir? I hope you had good holidays as well.
Yeah, man, I'm good. Obviously, I'd be better if Beşiktaş were good as well, but that's a different story. We'll dive into that in a wee bit. But yeah, it's good to be on as always, man.
Yeah, definitely a good day to talk because there's lots to talk about. Not so much about the game. The title of the podcast, or maybe the thumbnail of the podcast, kind of already gives that away. But there's plenty to talk about. More on the developments behind the scenes. Big breaking news today, actually, in regards to the coaching appointment. But we'll get to that in a second. First, I want to get your thoughts, Sinan, because we didn't have time to, due to some circumstances going on in my family life, we weren't really able to line up our schedules because I wanted to get your thoughts briefly on the elections and how it all turned out. So maybe quickly your thoughts on that.
I just went to the wrong video. I was like, welcome all, and it didn't come up. And I was like, why didn't it show up? And it's because I was on your guys' video from Monday. But yes, let me quickly say welcome all to everyone. And yeah, I have lots of thoughts. And Khan, I will say that I think I was gonna hold off on some of these thoughts in case you wanted to do a Patreon episode during the week this week. But I will say that. All right, I'll make one.
Give us a sneak preview.
Yeah, a little sneak peek of it. Yeah. Basically, with Hussein Yücel, there was a lot of talk about him being a snake oil salesman, and I think in the worst case scenario, there was a possibility he could be. I'm inclined to think that because he actually had the money into his own name, that at least there was a chance he wouldn't have been that. I mean, clearly, in the scenario of an election, everyone's going to say what they kind of need to say to win. But I do have the distinct impression that Serdar Adali is more of a used car salesman, in that he was willing to say just about anything he needed to make the sale. And granted, right, it was his fourth election. He clearly wanted this position very much, which isn't a bad thing per se. But I will say, based on what is this now, week one? It's been a full week, has it? Just about 6 days?
Well, today was the election a week ago, so let's call it 6 days. Yeah.
It's been a pretty rough start, and my fear that he was a bit of a used car salesman seems to be coming true, insofar as a lot of the promises he's made have not come through. We don't have this German sporting director or whatever it was he promised, scouting specialist. We don't have a coach. We don't have these 2 transfers he promised. And granted, the transfer window hasn't opened, but there's not even any indication that there are players incoming. So I'm a little nervous.
Yeah. Başakşehir are making moves. They already announced Yusuf Sarre. Today they signed a player from the French league. So it's not like you can't make transfers already. The only thing you can say is potentially that he isn't officially taking office until the 6th of January, which would be tomorrow. So, I mean, that's, to me, I'm kind of clinging on to that a little bit. Like, maybe that's why it's taking some time. But, yeah. Let's talk about this game briefly, because I just want to get that out of the way before we get into more on the behind the scenes stuff. It's just this game. Let's have a look at that lineup. So against Çaykur Rizespor, and granted, I feel like people are kind of brushing them off a little bit because of their poor start to the season, but they have really been picking up steam lately. They've been playing a lot better. They've been winning games. İlhan Palut has them playing better again, like they were playing last season. Of course, last season they were one of the revelations of the season, I would say. I think this season they just started off slowly, and they had those 2 big defeats against Fenerbahçe and Galatasaray. And I think a lot of people, other than the games against our rivals, they don't really pay much attention to teams like Çaykur Rizespor, so they might be overlooking a little bit how they've been on the rise lately. This definitely wasn't going to be an easy game. I see people saying, "Oh well, we can't even beat Hatay and Adana Demirspor, like relegation fodder like that." And they're 100% right about that. But I don't think you can classify Rizespor in the same category as those teams. They have more talent to begin with, and they have a good coach. But of course, the football that we put down on the mat was, it keeps going from bad to worse. And I feel like we were already kind of of the impression that it can't get much worse than this, and somehow every week
it somehow does. I'll do the lineup here. And I want to co-sign that last point, that before we even start, for me this was actually probably one of our worst performances this season, if not our worst. And it's actually a kind of indictment of this season in general and how weird it is that we didn't even lose despite that. But anyway, so we'll do Rizespor first. They have Tariq Çetin, 27-year-old Turk, in goal. A name that I can honestly say I wasn't familiar with. I feel like I always recognize Rizespor's goalkeeper.
Because it's usually what's his name? The guy. Yeah, Gökhan Akan, who...
yeah, exactly.
I mean, if Gökhan Akan was in goal yesterday, maybe
we might have had a chance.
We might have had a chance, although we didn't create any chances, so you still need to shoot to...
But so, they had someone new there. On their back line, it's Attila Moksi, 24-year-old Hungarian central defender, next to a 25-year-old Uzbeki, Kusnidin Alikulov. So it's a pretty global back line for them. Their left back is Mithat Pala, 24-year-old Turk, who played opposite Talha Shahin, another 24-year-old Turk. Wow, their whole team is like 24 years old and like unknown, which is kind of interesting. Central midfield, 23-year-old Bosnian, number 6, Dal Varesanovic, played next to, of course, another number 6, 27-year-old Bosnian, Amir Hadziometovich, is a name that I think many will recognize for good reason. In front of them, 27-year-old Nigerian Ibrahim Olawoyin, who's pretty dangerous against us, I thought. Left wing, 28-year-old Nigerian. It's interesting. They have like 2 from each country, except for, I guess, Uzbekistan. But 28-year-old Nigerian left wing, Babajide David, who played opposite, of course, the famous Rashid Ghazal, who is now 32. And, of course, their striker, Gambian 30-year-old Ali So. So that's a pretty interesting lineup from them. Clearly, they have a scout or, someone who's bringing in names that aren't so household. For us,
I think İlhan Palut and his team are really good at finding those types of players. Like Ali Kulov, I think is a pretty good player actually. Scored quite a few goals last season.
I mean, it was hard to poke many holes in what they put up yesterday. To be honest, they were pretty good. Oh, that's funny. So I said Baba Jite David, but of course his last name is Akintola. So I don't know if that's like a given name or something. But anyway,
Akintola, we know him for a while already, of course.
Yeah, he's been around. I was like, who's
on
this
the bench? They also have a kid that came on later, Bulju Basic, which is a young Bosnian kid he's like 19 years old. I think he was there. I think he's Rizespor's record signing, so they paid like $1.5 million for him or something. So, like Ilan Palut and Rizespor, they don't necessarily go for household names in Turkish football. They really go out of the box. But I always like what's always is a big term, of course, because Palut has only been there for
recently,
a while now. But I like how they go about doing their business. I think they are one of few Turkish clubs right now who are doing it the right way. They aren't going for the household names. Like for example, Eyüpspor, that's a lot of familiar faces. That's how most Turkish clubs do it. Once the money dries up there, if whoever is putting the money in, that they'll just end up in the amateur leagues or something. But this Rizespor, they have a very sustainable model, I feel, and basically should try to copy this, of course, on a bigger scale, on maybe a higher level. But I think for what Rizespor have and what budget they're working with and all that, I think they're doing a fantastic job, actually. One of the few clubs in Turkish football that are functioning properly.
Yeah, and they've been for quite a while now. They're a side that even when they started off the season a little slow, you kind of have a sense that they're going to get it together, just given their track record these last few years,
And that's mainly due to Ilan Palut as well, I think. So that's like a project they're working on. But I think if Ilan Palut were to leave, that would be tough for them, for sure.
Sure. Well, and it looks like now they have like a little Bosnian contingent. So like there's a real project at work there, it looks like. Anyway, on to Beşiktaş for some reason. In goal, we have Mert Günok, who was behind Tayyip Talha and Felix Udokai, who was back. I didn't even see an announcement that he had come back, but that was good to see.
Played the last game.
He played, I was going to say, and he played in the last game too. But on the fullbacks, we had Jonas Svensson and Bakhtiar Zainutinov. Good to see him back. I'll just say Al Musrati. I'm not going to do the first name. It's like four other names. Say his first name. And then, of course, Salih Uçan, who Serdar Topraktepe seems to very much rely on. I even noticed him giving him instructions during the match, like pulling him over. Maybe he's like his translator on the side of I don't know. They have some relationship anyway. But in front of them, interestingly, was Jedson Fernandes. Maybe we can talk about who you would have play in a more advanced role, Jedson or Salih, because Serdar Topraktepe picked Jedson, which I thought was interesting. On the wings, Rafa Silva and Ernest Mucci. A little change there to see Mucci back in the starting lineup, with, of course, Ciro Immobile back. And I think he had been limited to 60 minutes. People were saying, they didn't want to overdo him. And it's also worth noting Tayyip Talha went out the half with an injury. I thought maybe it was because of his performance, because he didn't come out very sharp. But he was injured, and apparently he's out for like a month. So Udokai and Emirhan Topçu are the only two central defenders we're going to have for a little while.
Yeah. I don't know about what you think, Katal, in terms of who should play as the most advanced midfielder. I think Mucci, honestly.
Yeah. I mean, we've been saying this since last year, me especially. This guy's dangerous when he's playing close to goal.
Yeah.
Like, if you put him as a 10, he's going to be as close to goal as he can be without being the striker. Mm-hmm. His shots from the edge of the box are very dangerous, and we saw that again in this game. And I wasn't happy with Serdar Topraktepe bringing him off either, because I thought he was only one of our, I'm not going to say good, but better players on the pitch.
I thought he was horrible in the first half, quite honestly. I think he was really bad. He had a lot of really sloppy, short passes that he could have easily played. This was a good pitch. And like a really simple passes he messed up. But he scored a great goal. Second half, he was moved more to the middle of the pitch, and he was definitely better. First half, I think he was horrible.
I mean, I think in that second half he was better than Rafa.
Yeah, Rafa. This was Rafa's worst game. Not a single moment. And Rafa always. I especially talk about this. Like Rafa, even when he doesn't have the best game, like he always has those moments, like 2, 3, 4 moments in a match. Even when he's not great, but in this game he didn't have a single one. That's the first time. I don't think that's ever happened.
Did you guys have any creeping, sort of maybe not so optimistic thoughts on the fact that Rafa Silva, this was his first game, basically post Hussein Yücel, who, you know, obviously famously played backgammon with him on an airplane and has fronted his salary supposedly and all this
I
stuff.
think they're looking far too deep into that, man. I don't think that's got anything to do with the way he played.
I hope not. I just,
maybe
you know,
a pattern arises, but like this is literally. I mean, like I said,
it's just number one. Yeah.
This is like we've talked about Rafa having a bad game in the past, and when we were talking about Rafa having a bad game in the past, he wasn't even that bad. You know, he had.
Yeah, there was always an asterisk.
Yeah,
he created like 4 chances.
Like even like in the past, when we said he wasn't good, like he had still like a 6.5 out of 10 performance. You know, we're just used to Rafa being 7.5, 8. You know.
But like this was his first like
this was
flat
a
5.
This was a 5. I mean, I guess he had like a few good turnaways from his opponent and runs, but like...
Yeah, nothing came of it.
Did, so I remember Hussein Yücel sort of promising to cover the guys who he brought in before the election. Is there any follow-up on that? Like,
no, he didn't
are they good? Are they getting paid now? You know?
I don't know. Like, he hasn't said anything about that.
Our great president Serdar Adali did make a €5 million payment to the players the other day.
Okay.
Oh, we saw that on the pitch. I think that check didn't clear until after the 90-minute mark.
Yeah, I mean, like we have to talk about this fact. This was our worst performance of the season. I thought. Like we've seen some terrible results, but
I don't know. If
despite getting a draw here, this was. I mean, this was painful.
Adana Demirspor was worse. Come on.
Oh, maybe.
Against time we had chances against Adana Demirspor.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
But you're not playing. You're playing a team that's already relegated. Where most of the professional, like, if you want to talk about like losing the team that we should have beaten, 16-year-old goalkeeper, rags and all that. Like, this is not comparable. Like I said before.
Well, but so that's, I guess your point there is Adana Demirspor is a worse team, and I think
worse, yeah.
If you want to talk about like the impact of losing the teams, I mean, Maccabi Tel Aviv will still be my low point, but just as far as the performance though, like we were so underwhelming. I didn't see any interest in making any attempt to score for much of this match. You know, even Mucci's goal was kind of like a mistake. I mean, not a mistake, obviously. He shot the ball and was on target.
The mistake from the opponent.
There was no build-up, right? Yeah, there was
Amir lost the ball,
thoughtful...
I think. Yeah,
exactly. There was no construction for it. So, like, I just, you know...
I mean, let's look at these numbers. You know, like, this is a match that if you play it 10 times, Rizespor wins it 9 out of 10. They should have scored, like, according to the XG alone, they should have scored at least 2 goals, probably 3. And you know, we are lucky to get a goal. And like, look at the big chances created. 0 big chances for us, 6 for Rizespor.
Yeah, we were dominated.
Yeah, completely and utterly dominated. If I was a Rizespor fan, I'd be super pissed. And we get super lucky too. Don't forget, like this, in the 94th minute, they get a goal disallowed for a hair. That's a hair, guys. Legitimately. Like, I don't think that should be disallowed. Like, what is this? What are we doing? Like this.
This is crazy.
This is insane.
It's like interpretive art, honestly. Like we were seeing how close we could get to giving a result away.
But this is the Jahre Automatik system, right? So that means whoever's in the VAR room has to decide manually when the ball leaves the foot. This is not even like a 100th of a second difference, and he's onside. So I think we are super lucky
Yeah.
That guy in the
Oh,
VAR
God.
room, one frame later and he's onside and it's a goal. Like,
Yeah.
this is not something I don't believe you can say with certainty this is offside. Like, no matter what that line says, unless there's a chip in the ball, if there's a chip in the ball, this is fine. But there's no chip in the ball. This is manually done. This goal, if this was the other way around, I would be fuming.
And here's the thing too, because your shoulder, you think, okay, it's like the crown is where your shoulder, but like technically there's a little bit of room. So like that line, I'm not even sure that covers his whole shoulder. Now we're getting into science here.
This is like
physiognomy, but
I mean, Rizespor should have really won this game, and I think, you know what? I think they got robbed. I think they got robbed at the end.
Yeah, we stole a point. Like, with it.
Yeah.
We didn't.
Oh, yeah.
We stole 1 point.
Yeah, 100%.
Absolutely.
100%.
yeah.
Let's continue with these
stats. Yeah,
let's get the stats out of the way, and then we can put a cap on it.
Yeah, so for our poor Spotify listeners who don't get to see our faces, you get to hear our voices at least. So we only had 53% of the ball to their 47, and that's with us being down for a chunk of this match. So that's unfortunate. You'd think there'd be more pressure on us to get back in this. Didn't seem to translate. They had 2.54 xG to our 0.44. They had 21 shots to our 9. Only 5 on target, I guess. If you want to hang your hat on something, we had 2 on target. I'm surprised we even had 2. They had 6 big chances to our 0. They missed all 6 of them. And of course, we missed all 0 of our 0. We had 384 accurate passes, completed an 83% clip to their 304 at a 78% clip. Now, the fact that those numbers are so even, granted, we had more of the ball, so you'd expect us to have more passes completed. The accuracy rate's not bad, but it's just like it speaks to the passivity that we all saw, that we didn't even hit 400 this match. I mean, these stats reek of passivity, if we're going to be honest.
Somehow we have more possession than they do. That's like the only thing. Like that's like the only metric we quote unquote won this game.
Yeah, and what's crazy is like at the end of the Geo era, when it was going poorly, we would still have like 65% of the ball and like at least more shots. You know, more chances usually. Like this was just a non-event.
Yeah.
They committed 17 fouls to our 15. So there we go. We also committed less fouls than them. They were offsides twice to our once. I think, did they have 2 goals called off for offsides? Didn't they have one in the first half also?
Yeah, I think so. I'm not
No,
even
that
sure.
was the last game. That was Alanya, I suppose.
Oh, maybe that was. Yeah. It's all a blur.
But I was gonna say something else. Oh, yeah. There's one moment actually in this game where I think it was Mithat Bala, but I'm not sure. I don't remember exactly. Or it might have been Amir. It might have been Amir actually. He's already on the yellow, and he makes a professional foul. I think around the hour mark. I think he should have gotten sent off there. That's like the only thing that you could like maybe say like maybe they could have had like a red card, and then maybe we could have turned the game around. But
Yeah.
I don't know. I think even against 10 men, we'd probably get dominated, honestly, at this point.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah.
6 corners by them to our 2, which suggests that they were the more dangerous, willing to score side.
Yeah.
Cartel, how about those duels?
In terms of duels, it was 53 apiece, so 50% each way. Ground duels won 40 for them, 47 for us. So we won 54% of the ground duels, but we were very, very badly beaten on aerial duels, 13-7. They won 65% of them. Successful dribbles, they had 7, which was 50%. We had 8, which was 40%. So that tell you that we maybe tried like 17 or 18 dribbles. Yellow cards, 4 for them, 2 for us. And as Khan says, Amir was lucky not to be sent off. Red card, 0 apiece.
I mean, really, if you'd have to grade these guys other than Mert, who probably earned himself a new contract with this performance, but I think he made like 3 really big saves. Like there was one really big save where it was a goal essentially. Where I think was it Akintola? I don't even remember, who like squares the ball to the far post, and somehow Mert saves it with a diving save to the lower left corner. It's in the first half, I think. Like that's always a goal. So I think Mert, with this performance alone, earned himself a contract extension. Not that I agree with that. I think it's ridiculous that you see like these straight after this game. You see like, oh, you know, the talks about Mert getting a new contract and stuff like that. Maybe that's just the media doing media games. I don't know. But like, other than Mert, who has had a solid performance in this match, what can you say about any of the players? Like, I don't think anyone gets above a 5. Maybe Jetson. Jetson gets a 6.
And maybe Zainuddinov did. I mean, he had one bad pass in the second half, but he was like running at least in the first half. You know, I don't know.
Mucci deserves a 6 or a 7 because of that goal.
Yeah, the goal.
No, come on. A goal alone isn't enough to get the highest score. Like, I mean, I think Jetson, all in all, was the best player on the pitch.
I thought Jetson was pretty poor as well.
Yeah, but he at least worked his ass off. You could tell. Like, I mean,
he ran back and like.
What was up with Musrati, man? The guy is just walking around on the pitch. Like he had.
I thought Immobile was the worst player by far.
Yeah, Chiro was terrible. At least he has the excuse he's coming off of an injury, but like.
Tayyip Talha was pretty terrible also. Although he got hurt. He might have been hurt though, because there was one play where he let the ball drop in front of him and then like gave them a chance one-on-one in front of the goal. Yeah. And my only thinking was like maybe that's when he injured himself, because it was so illogical that he wouldn't just kick the ball away.
Because he got like subbed right after.
Yeah, exactly.
At first I thought it was like a reaction to that mistake that Serdar just decided to yoink him, but. Yeah, it turns out it was an injury. I did feel like once Emirhan came on, like we were more stable at the back.
Yeah, for sure.
But I mean, I think Musrati was just
coasting.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Cruise control.
Chiro didn't do anything except for one really good pass to Rafa. Don't know if you remember that one. The first half. It's like one moment where he gave like a really nice pass to Rafa. And you thought Rafa might have been away, but like, I don't know, it felt like Rafa was playing with the handbrake on or something. Like, it wasn't a single time where he really got away from his opponents, and like with one of those typical Rafa rushes, it just didn't happen. And then Mucci on the wing was terrible. Once he moved to the center, he was definitely better. Svensson. I can't really say much about Svensson's performance, honestly, and Udokai. I mean, I think those guys are just kind of a victim of the rest of the team being as bad as they are. But it was.
Someone in the group chat was criticizing Zainuddinov, and I was gonna defend him, and then he made like a terrible pass in the second half, and I was like, all right, I'm not gonna say anything. But I don't think he didn't stand out as being too bad, at least in the first half.
It's just a collective horrible performance. And every time this season, you have these moments where you go into an international break and you have a couple of these guys had like 10 plus days to prepare for this match, and it just feels like every time off the players get, we're worse. We come out of them worse than we were going in. And after the game, Halim Okta actually said that there's like a physical deficit, like the team isn't physically ready, and it only just arose now, this problem. Now they discovered. I mean, Serdar Topraktepe has been in charge of this team for well over, I want to say 2 months. When was the Maccabi game?
To be fair, it's only been just over a month, man.
Yeah, but like 90 days or something, right? Or no, not 90 days. Sorry, 45 days or something at least.
Yeah,
right?
but sounds about
But also, if fitness and fatigue were the issue, then why did we run less in the first half than the second?
Yeah, if
that first half was terrible.
Isn't that something you see after? Like, first and foremost, Serdar Topraktepe was part of the technical staff under Giovanni van Bronckhorst. Like if there's a physical issue, how can you come out after a game and state that you only just noticed it now? Like then what have you been doing for the past 6 months?
I think there's been an operation against Giovanni Van Bronckhorst because the media has been saying it for a while now that the team didn't prepare properly in the summer, and that's why part of the reason we're in the state we're in. I think that's nonsense, man.
Yeah.
Maybe if there's one issue, it might be the fact that the hotel that we used for the camp, there was no gym in it. And if that's the board's fault, that's not Gio's fault. Gio didn't pick that hotel to do the camping. It was the board that picked.
But then we wouldn't have started as well as we did too.
I mean,
right?
Look at some of the games we played, man. The Lyon game, great example.
Yeah.
We outlasted Lyon and we killed them in the end.
I've been saying that for months. Like people are talking about our physicality. I think if anything, that's one of the few saving graces we've had this season. We have actually outlasted teams. Like I don't know if you can. I mean, maybe they're talking about the injuries, but like that's a different matter.
Another thing as well, Can, that I want to interject there quickly, man. Our players started getting injured after Van Bronckhorst left, and the most of the injuries before he left was like on international break. Mucci got hurt on international break.
That's true, and Rasic too.
The only one was Paulista, but he seems to be chronically injured.
Musrati also got injured before.
That's right.
And we saw Paulista's ankle turn,
and it was after a collision with an Ajax player.
But also, don't forget that Paulista, we saw his ankle turn too, so that wasn't even
But what about Chiro? Didn't he get I think he got injured still on Giovanni's watch as well, though, didn't he? I think he missed the Maccabi game and stuff like that, didn't he?
Well, he played against Maccabi.
Did he? Okay.
He got injured another time, though. You're right, he did. Before he was injured, but one or two injuries can happen, man.
Yeah, of course. That's part of it. You know?
Players have been going down like flies ever since Gio left. So the fact is, we had a professional sports scientist that's worked at top clubs before.
Yeah.
Now we've got some local Turkish guy doing the job. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No,
it's a farcical excuse. If
domestic
you think about it,
is
really.
Always better, Kartal. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
see this Harry Mokhtar coming out and saying, "Oh, the team didn't prepare properly this summer." Yeah, because a Europa League finalist, Dutch champion, Scottish Cup winner, coach, Dutch Cup winning coach, Dutch Super Cup winning coach, Turkish Super Cup winning coach, doesn't know how to do a pre-season camp that fucking Harry Mokhtar does.
Yeah,
give me
definitely. Yeah. I mean, you can say a lot about, you can criticize Giovanni Van Bronckhorst for a lot of mistakes he made, I think tactical errors and stuff like that, but like I don't buy it for a second that his preparation pre-season wasn't good. I don't buy it.
Only claim you can make is about the gym equipment, and that's the board's fault.
Yeah, but we saw even in the matches, in the pre-season games, we've watched every single one of them. When we watched the games against Lugano, we watched the games early on in the season. Like, I mean, that is not a team that hasn't prepared properly. We were ready for the season. You know, we came out of the preseason guns blazing. So you can't say stuff like that and not lose credibility. Like for me,
it's pretty clear that they just figured out how to play us. You know, they some manager kind of unlocked how to play Gio's tactic. The others sort of keyed in on it and played us the same way. And Giovanni just didn't effectively reroute to a plan B. You know, I think you could probably say he had some issues with personnel. Right, his substitution patterns were a little iffy. But
I think Sinan, like the ex-president of the club, Hussein Ujel, openly said that we got involved in the coach's work too much. And
I was agreeing with you, Carter. I didn't mean to.
He believes that he would have worked for Beşiktaş for years. Like that's telling, man. Like obviously Gio's made mistakes, but how much of that is to do with them getting fucked around and not being able to maybe focus properly because of the shit going on in the background?
I mean, I've said it before. I'd love to talk with Giovanni Van Bronckhorst. I'd love to interview him and just ask him about some of these things. Like, hey, did you insist on João Mario? Did you insist on Jan Kelesh? I would love to hear his explanation, man.
Did you say that? Would you miss the chance to sign Thierry Henry? Talking about
I wouldn't even say that. I would just ask him for his opinion. Like, did they say you insisted on Jan Kelesh's and without your judgment on whether Jan Kelesh is a good player or not. Is that a player you had on your list that you wanted, that you supposedly insisted on? That would be my question. And I would pose the same question about Joao Mario. My question wouldn't be, do you think this is a bad football player, yes or no? Because I know somebody like Giovanni Van Bronckhorst would never openly talk shit about a football player. He would never do that. But he can say, without doing anything wrong and harming the player, he could just say, no, that wasn't a player I was particularly keen on. Or that was not a player that I had on my list. That was somebody that was brought to us and whatever. Like, I would love to hear his explanation, because we've heard all these different iterations of, oh, Gio this, Gio that. And like, I mean, this is typical Turkish stuff where, you know, they try to... It's always somebody else's fault.
Me and Karen spoke about this before in the podcast, but Sinan wasn't here. Like, I said to Karen on the last episode that after all this shit that's came out, even like, especially with Usual openly accepting that Van Bronckhorst was fucked over by them, basically. I think until we are successful again, I'll always think, what if we were able to provide him with a stable environment? Because I think he gave us such a bright light at the start of the season. I think I'll be thinking that for a while, unless we are suddenly successful with whoever comes in, of course.
I feel like you can say that about a lot of people, though. You know, what if Sergen Yalçin would have been treated better by the previous board?
Yeah.
And would have had a contract lined up for him, and
what if Valérien Ismail was allowed to play 3-back?
No, I don't have that.
That was just a bad hire, man. Like,
yeah,
I'm just kidding. I was just kidding.
I said in one of the group chats, we've only really had 2 decent foreign managers in the last decade, Bilic and Gio.
Yeah.
Like, they're the only 2 half decent ones, or decent. Like, Santos was a dinosaur. Val, just completely wrong mindset for a club like us.
Yeah, I think Valérien Ismail, if you hire him as if you're Fatih Karagümrük, that's like or even Başakşehir. You know what? Başakşehir for years, like under Abdullah Avci, that was like their MO. They kind of played tactically interesting counter football. I think he would have fit a club like that perfectly. Also, the expectations are different.
Yeah, definitely, man. No, I agree. He's a mid-table, or he's a kind of mid-table club kind of coach, I think. And like, if a mid-table team that wants to push up, I think he's.
I think that's a perfect segue, though. Like how Sinan likes to say it, the segue. Let's move away from this game, guys. There's nothing left to be said about it. We were terrible. Rize Spor should have won it. We were lucky to come away with a point. We keep slipping under Serdar Topraktepe. We keep going further down the slippery slope. 6 games.
Isn't that surprising to you guys a little bit? Like, why is he doing so poorly?
I don't know. Is it surprising? He had a half decent run last season, I think, but like the majority of the games under Serdar last season were also just draws. He had a better points per game average, but like he rarely got the job done in the league then. Like, of course, in the cup we ended up winning it, but like there were even rumors back then that, you know, the cup tactical plan wasn't done by him but by Samet Aybaba. And if I watched the game yesterday, like I failed to see any sort of tactical plan. Like, I feel like yesterday and also in previous games, I feel like Serdar Topraktepe is happy with a point. Like, I think as long as we don't lose, it's okay. And even if we lose, that doesn't really matter. He has a job lined up for him anyway. He knows he's there temporarily. He's been there far too long. Yeah. I don't know what you think, Kartal, but like, are you surprised by this? Because I remember you were very much dead set against Serdar Topraktepe for a longer period of time, because last season you didn't see anything that would...
Yeah, exactly, man. Like, the first initial 3-game period was fine, 2 wins, 1 loss. Actually, a huge 4-0 win with Rize. Yeah. But see, when he had that extended period from March till the end of the season, the league results were terrible. Really, really bad. Like, I think he only won like 2 or 3 games out of like 8.
I guess like one thing we can say is that
the cup final was brilliant, but as we alluded to, there's rumours that Samet Aybaba prepared the tactics for that. Like,
of course, who put those rumours out there? It might have been Samet Aybaba himself.
Yeah, now that we know how active he is on that end of things. Well, I will say this though. I guess the reason I find it so surprising, it's not so much because I thought Serdar Topraktepe was some sort of tactical genius. It's more that I expected the players to respond to all of this, and of course, it's a chaotic situation. They're not always going to respond well to it, but I just, you figure there's probably more pressure on them. They're playing for not for their careers, but for their position in a side. You think it's a bit of a window to impress or not. Assuming that the club is going to let some guys go soon. I'm surprised by how little of a response there is to all of this upheaval. And I guess maybe it suggests that the players were not very fond of some of these changes made. I do have the distinct impression that a lot of these guys really liked working under Giovanni van Bronckhorst.
Well, I have no doubt.
Morale was pretty high, even when things were turning poorly.
Gio is known for having a great relationship with his players, so I wouldn't be surprised if the majority of players had a good relationship with him. I think there's a difference between having a good relationship with a coach and believing in a coach, though.
Yeah. I mean, see, the thing is, though, see if you've got a group of players that needs the coach to be sacked to show a response, it was that group of players worth anyway, Like, if they're in tools and then showing a reaction, I mean, that shows you that really they sabotage you before, you know what I mean? If they're suddenly going to start playing good under Serdar Topraktepe after Gio's sacking, so that would make me call into question the integrity and attitude of these players. I mean, I think the attitude of them stinks, a lot of them anyway, because I think these players can do better than this.
Yeah, I guess that's really what I'm suggesting too, is that it really feels like the players themselves have, decided that there's nothing really to play for here, and it's pretty bizarre to me, to be honest. And then, and obviously some of that's on Serdar Topraktepe, right? He's not maybe communicating very well with his guys. He's not motivating them very well. Obviously, that goes without saying.
At the same time, he's out of his depth. He's a youth coach.
Yeah, doesn't have a license.
Yeah, there's a reason the guy doesn't have a pro license. I mean, he's 50. Yeah, he's 50 or he's 49 years old, turning 50 this year. He's been working as a coach. At youth level and stuff like that for 8 years or something. Like, this guy, there's nothing wrong with that.
He could have even gotten his license in the last year since he started. He could have tried, getting this interim position, right? I mean, I think because, for example, right, against Athletic Bilbao,
I think it takes 18 months. But
all right, that's good. When do we play Athletic Bilbao? I haven't written that down.
23rd, if I'm not, or the 22nd, Wednesday.
Maybe I have written it down. It's just that far away.
It's another early kickoff on a Wednesday. So
no, I didn't.
I think it's the 22nd.
But so right, like Halim Oktay is going to be listed as our manager for that match, right? Is he the one with the license?
New manager.
Let's talk about that. So enough about the Rize game. Let's talk about what's happening. So 6 days now since the elections, 7 days actually since the elections, that Serdar Adali won. He's our new president. And it's been 7 days, and there were a lot of promises made in the election campaign, just like the previous election campaign by Hassan Arad. Very similar things here and there. Sinan already alluded to some of them. But one of the big promises was there was going to be what do we call it again? A not sporting director. There was going to be
a scouting expert,
a head of scouting from Germany, not a German. He was going to arrive in Istanbul on Monday to finalize the deal. Now it's Sunday now, so that's 6 days since that supposed arrival. So he was supposed to come before the elections on Sunday. He was supposed to come before.
Christmas,
but it was Christmas, so he couldn't make it. So now it was gonna be Monday. Absolute radio silence. Nothing has been said about this. It's been absolute radio silence. There's no head of scouting. There's no not sporting director. Nothing. Okay, fine. We expected maybe Sergen Yalçin will get announced the day after the elections, maybe the day after that. Apparently, Serdar Adali still had to meet with him. So that meeting took place today. And unfortunately, Sergen's brother, Gürsoy Yalçin, who had previously always been part of Sergen's technical staff as a scout, he fell ill and yesterday apparently had to be taken into intensive care. So get well
Was
soon.
he the scouting specialist? Is he in Germany by any chance? Maybe
No.
he's the scouting specialist we were waiting for.
No. I think what Gürsoy Yalçin did, he was probably the one who prepared for the next opponents, analyzed the next opponents, and stuff
I was
like that.
joking.
So Gürsoy Yalçin apparently seriously ill, has been ill for a while, but yesterday apparently got taken into intensive care. And out of the conversation today between Serdar Adali and Sergen Yalçin, came the conclusion that Sergen will not be taking the job as he wants to take time to take care of his brother who's currently in the hospital, and things apparently aren't looking great. Hopefully he gets well soon, but Sergen Yalçin therefore off the table. So there's an explanation there maybe to why that dragged out. There's plausible deniability there. Maybe Sergen, I've unfortunately discovered this myself. It can go really quickly. Maybe his brother was sick for a while already, but now it's taken a turn for the worst. You can't talk about that. We shouldn't talk about that. We shouldn't, say, oh, that's a disgrace. They should have known this already. We don't know. We don't know those private matters, so let's not speculate on that. So let's just give them the benefit, give Serdar Adali the benefit of the doubt there. But now we have to look elsewhere. We have to look somewhere else. So it's 6 days later.
And time
tomorrow
out.
will be a week. Yeah.
Time out, Khan, because before you give Serdar Adali Adali, I don't want to be the American pronunciation, Adali. If you give Serdar Adali the benefit of the doubt, then you have to acknowledge the fact that he said that Sergen was plan A, but he had a plan B, a C, a D, and he had a plan E, supposedly.
I don't know if he said that exactly, but he definitely did say that there were contingencies.
I thought that was a quote from the group chat.
It's
but,
possible. It's possible. I don't know. I don't remember exactly.
He doesn't seem to have even a plan B, so I don't know what happened there.
Look,
if in 2 days there's no one announced, we know that was bullshit.
Yeah. I think it's kind of harsh to say, okay, they had a meeting this afternoon. It's hard to then say, oh, well, then the next one in line. It doesn't go like that, of course. There needs to be, but I mean.
Well, my objection is more with the phrasing of this whole plan A, plan B, plan C thing, because ultimately, who wants to be a plan B, right? If you're trying to sell the position to someone, you want them to feel like they're highly coveted. I think you need to go into this whole process with we've got a group of options that are all really strong, and we're looking at them kind of with equal measure. And then you can kind of come out after you've made your choice. You can kind of, reveal the pecking order or whatever you want to do. But and just sort of position whoever you ended up with as the top choice. But so I don't like that this has been this is one element of transparency that I don't think we necessarily needed. And of course, everyone wants to know what kind of candidates you have in mind, and obviously Sergen Yalçin was always going to be a candidate. But I worry about the PR messaging on this. It seems like you.
Yeah. Let's Skafa wanted to interject, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, I think in life there's always going to be an option 1, option 2, and both presidential candidates had Sergen as their plan A. We knew that. Mm-hmm. They both used Sergen as an election promise. We're going to sit down with him after it. I mean, I see where you're coming from, Sinan. You don't want to devalue the other people in the list. But even if they didn't use that terminology, I think if you go to Sergen first and he says no, it's obvious that he was the plan A. You know what I mean? I think that's always kind of going to get out. Maybe you don't say that you spoke to him. But I think there's always going to be a plan A, B, C, D in life.
Of course. On the back end, no doubt. On their list, you hope it's a pretty well considered plan A and plan B.
I don't even think. I mean, you know what? I think given the the sensitivities in Turkey right now regarding foreign coaches versus domestic coaches. I think you can perfectly go to a foreign coach right now and say, look, because of this we looked into a Turkish coach first. Sergen Yalçin was our option when it came to Turkish coaches, but you are our first choice when it comes to a foreign coach. And then I just think it's really important that from the Adali side now, he can't allow any leaking of who is his first choice. Like, let's say Razvan Lucescu is his first choice, or Slaven Bilic is his first choice, or Niko Kovac is his first choice. Doesn't matter. He cannot allow it to be leaked to the media now. He needs to make a deal with someone first.
Yeah.
Regardless of who that is, whether that's choice A, B, or C. If it's choice, but especially if it's like choice B or C, it's very important that choice A is never revealed to the media. Of course, the media are going to speculate. The media are going to point fingers to the obvious candidates. And I think, Razvan Lucescu is an obvious candidate. Slaven Bilic is an obvious candidate. I think those are the two most obvious ones. If I was Serdar Adali, I would probably aim high, try for Lucescu. But if I can't get him, I would go with Bilic, because I think with Bilic, you're going to make almost everyone happy. Most Beşiktaş fans to this day love and adore Slaven Bilic. Most people have fond memories of the time under Bilic. The football was largely good under Bilic. We had some fantastic European results under Bilic. Yeah, we came up short in the league, but we were also building a team and blah and blah and blah. I think people would be happy with Slaven Bilic. Now, whether or not you're getting the same Slaven Bilic as you had 10 years ago, that's a different question. The man has aged 10 years. His staff isn't the same anymore. Edin Terzic obviously moved on his own way, so I don't know. I think Jurcevic is somebody you had on the staff. Mirmic is somebody you had at the staff. I don't know what those people's statuses are, if they're working at other clubs and stuff like that. But I think Slaven Bilic, even in the Turkish climate right now, where there's this prejudice of only a domestic coach will work, I think someone like Bilic or Razvan Lucescu can come into Beşiktaş and get the job, and initially the media will lay off them, because first and foremost, I think the most important thing is the Beşiktaş media lays off them and is behind them. And I think Serdar Adali, contrary to Hasan Arat, has the media on his side, because he didn't demonize the media, he didn't start a vendetta against the media, he gives the media news. So, that's gonna be different. For me,
he's given the media a job in his staff, apparently. We could probably talk about that briefly.
I mean, that's been denied already,
has it?
Yeah,
I saw the debate in the group chat. I didn't know.
He actually, Serdar Adali himself denied it, again.
For anyone who doesn't know, we're talking about the theoretical Bülent Uslu appointment within the board. There was talk of him being first. It was denied, and then he was coming, and now I guess it's been denied again. So that's interesting.
Yeah, we'll talk about that actually, but let's talk about the candidates, or let's talk about the coaching situation first. In the comments, people watching right now, let us know. So no Sergen. Who do you prefer? Do you prefer a foreign coach? Do you prefer a Turkish coach? If you prefer a Turkish coach, who would that be? If you prefer a foreign coach, who would that be? How would you feel about Slaven Bilic coming back? How would you feel about Arda Turan? How would you feel about Ertuğrul Sağlam, İlhan Palut, Çağlar Şatan? Right now, the names floating out there are not the most fun ones. Fatih Doğan is somebody, is a journalist, and he put some names out there. One of the names he put out there is Ibrahim Üzülmez, Mehmet Özdilek, Şifo Mehmet, Ertuğrul Sağlam. Who else was it? It was a couple. Oh yeah, Tayfun Korkut, or ex-player. Well, ex-player. He played for us briefly. More Fenerbahçe's ex-player, really. Tayfun Korkut, and then I feel like there was another one. Oh yeah, Sinan Kalulu he mentioned. He mentioned all these C, D tier coaches, except for Ertuğrul. I guess you could call him like maybe B tier. I don't know. And then he also mentioned Razvan Lucescu's like A+, in our world. So I know these are probably bullshit, but let's entertain it. Let's talk about it. Karta, let's get your thoughts on this impressive list of names.
I mean, for me, the only name on that list that works is Lucescu. He's the only one that I'd be interested in seeing.
Not Bilic at all.
He wasn't
He
on
wasn't
the
on
list.
that list.
Oh, okay.
I added
Would
him.
you be interested in Bilic though, Cartel, if he were on the list?
Yeah. I mean, he's not. I'm not going to be very excited about Bilic, man. It's not going to be like, oh my God, we've got Slaven Bilic back. He's going to win the league. But I think in this current scenario, he's probably one of the best names we could get. He knows the club. He previously built foundations to our best stretch in the 21st century. Mm-hmm. He built those foundations.
Yeah.
So I think he's definitely a coach that's done well for us in the past. As Karen's talking about, played great European games, but his big handicap is he's not really been successful since. He done very well for a year at West Ham, and then was decent at West Brom, but every other job he's had since has been a bit of a failure. So I do have concerns, but in this current moment, like, he probably would be my second or third choice. Because I don't think you're getting a Roger Schmidt just now. Obviously, if you could get a guy like that, I'd want that. But I think realistically, my two choices, because I don't think Lucescu would come either. I don't think you can pry him away from PAOK. So I think my two realistic choices would probably be Bilic or Arda Turan. And I think Bilic is more realistic considering he's currently without a job. So at this current moment, I'd say yes to Bilic. Does it fill me with excitement? Not really, but I think it's probably the best. He's probably one of the better coaches we could get just now, realistically, in this current predicament.
Yeah, sounds about right.
What do you think, Sinan? Anything to add to that? Any strong opinions on a specific coach, perhaps?
Boy, those are good questions. I feel exactly the same about Bilic in that I think he could do the job well, and I would be happy. I'd be happy to see him come. At least it would, give us closure, right? One way or the other. If it didn't go well, we'd say, I see. Okay, so that's done. That'll end the chapter on Bilic. Otherwise, who knows? Maybe he expands his profile with us somehow. But Lucescu would be my top choice, but I don't know how realistic it is. He's a smart guy, so he might know better than to come to Beşiktaş right now.
I think the only way, I think there's a slight possibility for Lucescu, and the only reason for that is because he just got a 4-month ban in Greece. Because after the game against AEK Athens, he and his staff got in a brawl on the parking lot. Now, I don't know how on earth AEK fans got onto the parking lot. I don't know how that happened.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
But he got...
And of course they punished.
He got a month suspension in the Greek league. And I believe that suspension was put in by the Greek FA, not by FIFA or UEFA. So in theory, he should be able to coach Beşiktaş matches without a problem. I think that gives you a slight chance. The problem is that he won the league with PAOK last season. They're in a really good position this season as well. I just checked they're second in the table with 34 points, but the leaders also have 34 points, Olympiacos. I do think Olympiacos have a game less, but still, they're in a great position. In the Greek league, they have the playoff system, so even if they go into the playoffs with some points behind, they still have a great chance to win the league. So he would essentially be giving up a potential other trophy, a potential third title with PAOK for a very difficult task at Beşiktaş with a president that might not even be here in 6 months, depending on what happens now. I think the chances of Lucescu are very small. I do, however, think you have to try. You can't not try. You have to try. In Belgium, we have a saying: you always have a no if you don't ask. You always the no is there, but you can get a yes. So ask. Maybe you get the yes. The no is a guarantee. If you don't ask, it's no. It's always no. The answer is always no.
You can't win the lottery if you don't buy a ticket,
Exactly.
right? That's
Exactly. Gürkem Ünal makes a good point, I think, in the chat. Hi, Gürkem, by the way. Can Bilic work with these players? You know, with these amateurs, he calls them, and he's not wrong. I mean, look at there's a couple of players out there I'm sure Bilic would be able to work with, but we cannot forget. I think Slaven Bilic did a fantastic job for about, well, let's say 18 months. But then there was, like, in that second season, after the Brugge game, there was a free fall moment where the team just started dropping points left and right in the league. We threw away our title aspirations. And I remember thinking back then, at least, that, like, I was angry with Bilic that he couldn't stop the free fall. Like, he couldn't do anything. I felt like he was powerless to stop it. And that is kind of worrying for me. Would he be able to turn this around if he couldn't back then? Those were his players. He had worked with them for a long time already. He had a good relationship with them. He knew their buttons and all that. So I think Gürkem raises a really good point here. Will Bilic be able to work with that? And then he goes on. We shouldn't forget he had Under Özden there as well at the time. And he feels that Arda Turan is one of the people that might be able to work with this under these conditions. And yeah, I think Arda Turan, I don't know about that. I would like to think so, but...
see, that's... So I have 2 points to make. One, and again, you've always got to take a few pinches of salt with Turkish journalism, but we should probably mention Umer saying... It's the foreigner's fault. Every Turkish journalist after a club in Turkey falls. And that does seem to be a common thing with the media in Turkey. But it's worth noting that during that period you were talking about, Khan, when he couldn't right the ship, everybody was running with the speculation that he already had his eye on West Ham and had like 1 foot out the door. Yeah. So, you know, theoretically that wouldn't be the case. So maybe that would work in our favor. My problem with Arda Turan has nothing to do with who he is, his tactical capacity or his ability to coach a team. I'm just very loath to put a guy in charge of the team who brings that much controversy with him, who instantaneously has, you know, half of the fan base against him because he's a former Galatasaray guy, very famously, sort of a club icon for them. So, you know, I remember once upon a time when, you know, there was a huge camp of Şenol fans and a huge camp of Sergen fans, and I went out with the I don't want either, you know, take with the idea that because you always then, you know, if you pick someone, a third option that people don't hate, you don't have half of the fan base on one side and half, you know, like, so for me, like, especially right now, given how tenuous things are with the club, how much stability we're lacking, I fear putting someone in who's like, you know, immediately under scrutiny and immediately getting kind of, you know, a portion of the fan base kind of up in arms, you know.
I don't know if I feel like that's I could be completely wrong here, but I kind of have the feeling like I think most fans would be okay with it. I think a lot of fans would be excited by it. And I even think, like, you know, like, remember when Burak came back, there was like a pretty significant portion of the fans who did not want that. I don't really think there is necessarily that. I think there's definitely some Beşiktaş fans who are like, yeah, I don't want a gun-wielding nut as my coach. I think they're there. But I don't think there's people who have necessarily moral objections against Arda because, oh, he's a Galatasaraylı or this or this or that. I think that's relatively... I think that blowback is going to be relatively okay. My big concern...
I would agree with you, Khan. Sorry, but before you move on to the next point, I would have agreed with you, except given the criticism, like the one thing that almost had a lot of pro-Adali people turning against him was that potential board member, that woman who's a maybe Galatasaray fan. So there does seem to be a lot of this, you know, tribalism, factionalism in that sense. So it does seem like a lot of fans do hold on to those ideas.
Yeah, but
my problem with Burak Yilmaz was more his personality, for example. But a lot of people were talking about him being a former Galatasaray guy. Of course, he did play for us as well.
The
so
main issue with Burak was that he threw himself for a penalty in that 3-3 draw at Inonu.
Yeah.
That was one of the big issues a lot of people had. I think what Kartel is going to say now, I'm going to allow Kartel to make the point, actually. Kartel, go ahead.
Yeah. A board member and a coach are different things. Like, a coach is a professional that's paid by the club. A board member is a voluntary role. And to be a board member, you need to be a Congress member. And to be a Congress member, you should have to be a Beşiktaş fan.
Yeah.
Some Beşiktaş fans, Emre Hasturkman, they wouldn't let him in to the Congress when Fikret Orban was the president. But then you get Galatasaray fans coming into the Congress.
Yeah.
I said,
I think Emre said on social media some things about Orman at some point, and legitimately they didn't allow him in because they unearthed some of his tweets or something. I didn't even say anything super bad. I think maybe just some criticism, but there's.
I mean, maybe that's true, but in my honest opinion, for me it's the opposite. I'd be more worried about the coach having, to be 100% honest, I'm not worried about this at all. I don't care about a former Galatasaray on the board or as coach. Just because of, it's
you don't
all.
think it's morally wrong that the Congress is for Beşiktaş fans? Do you not think it's morally wrong that, never mind the board, that there's a Galatasaray fan in that Congress making decisions for the future of the club?
I do. No, if she was 100%, like if she was walking around the streets with her Galatasaray jersey on and stuff like that, but I think to some extent, and I think Khan mentioned this when you guys were talking about this on Monday. Right, like her reputation is at stake too, right? And given her political background and her own history, my sense is that she would be under more scrutiny than anyone else in that sense, right?
She can't
she'd be damaging her own political aspirations. So I mean, I guess once you're willing to step into a position like that and receive that scrutiny, you assume that they're gonna weather it one way or another by either denying the claims or proving their loyalty or whatever it is that would have motivated them to try to get on there in the first place. Of course, Kartal, yes, you're absolutely right. Like an actual Galatasaray fan, I don't want a Galatasaray fan anywhere near our club, not even as our coach. In theory, and that's where I think
you're a professional, right? Like if you're a football player, if you're look at Hakan Balta. Hakan Balta was a very famous Beşiktaş fan. Played for years for Galatasaray, won many championships with Galatasaray. I think you can be a fan of another club and be successful at another club. If you're a professional, I think that's what Arda Turan is as well. Like a lot of people expected him to lay down for Galatasaray in that game, and Eyüp took the game to them. I mean, I think with Arda, for me. Right now, Arda is one of 3 obvious candidates domestically, and I think out of those 3, he's probably the best one. The problem is, I don't really agree with Görkem on this, is I am not certain that Arda can work with a squad that is this low on morale, that is checked out maybe mentally, because I don't think he's ever had that situation as a coach. He's a very young coach. He's only been coaching for 2.5 years or something. And at Eyüpspor, he's always really been given everything. He's been giving a good, stable environment. He's been giving players that were probably the best players in the league, in the Birinci League, who are very good for the Super League even. He's showing that right now. However, you cannot downplay what he has done tactically. He is clearly a great coach, but he has yet to face adversity as a coach, I think, in the sense that, he has not worked with a team that's suddenly in a position where they didn't expect to be. Suddenly they're fighting relegation. Suddenly, heads are hanging, morale is low. I don't know if he has worked with that. I know, for example, Çağdaş has worked in those situations. He came into a situation like that last season with Başakşehir. But then would I see Çağdaş as a Beşiktaş coach and be successful? I'm not 100% sure. İlhan Palut, he's done great work at Hatay, Konya, now Rize. I feel like Ilan Palut, every club he's come into, he made it better. But it's a big step to go from that level of a club to Beşiktaş. Çağdaş is same thing, going from Başakşehir to Beşiktaş is a big step. Going from Eyüp to Beşiktaş is a huge step. My big concern with those types of people would be experience. But yeah, either you go for potential or you go for experience, and then you end up with Şenol Güneş. I think realistically the only real option that is experienced and available right now that is Turkish is Ertuğrul Sağlam. He's probably the only coach at the moment other than Ersun Yanal. But and Aykut Kocaman and those types who have won a championship who are available. Which ties into the next comment from Gürkan. He says, "Hey all, potential candidates are giving me a headache. The current situation is so desperate. All I know is that we don't need another foreign coach to be sacked in 2 to 3 months." And yeah, of course we don't need another foreign coach to be sacked in 2 to 3 months, but I don't know what...
We don't need any coach.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, Gürkan, do you see right now, because Sergen isn't coming, do you see a good domestic option that you think won't be sacked as well? Like, who can turn this around? Like, I don't know if any coach can turn this around right now, quite frankly. I have to be honest.
Yeah, and in response, to Umer, to the why would anyone force her politically to write stuff like God bless Gladys, look.
Oh, no, I don't think that was Kartal's point at all, by the way. I think she is a Galatasaray fan, but because I think she ran for office or something in the district of Beşiktaş, she became a Beşiktaş Congress member because of that. That is why.
That's what we meant by political behavior. Umer.
So she had political motivation to become a Beşiktaş to become a Beşiktaş Congress member and to become a Beşiktaş fan between quotation marks. I think she is a Galatasaray fan. There's no discussion about it.
Yeah. And my only point is that she might not be so bad because of that. In that, her reputation as a politician in that area, it would be negatively impacted if she did something really stupid. So if anything, she has pressure to kind of prove that she's a Beşiktaş fan and prove that she belongs, even though we all kind of know she doesn't.
I mean, I don't think it's even a matter of proving she's a Beşiktaş fan. I think she's going to be under so much scrutiny, and if she's going to be in charge of that real estate project, she cannot afford to mess that up. Now, of course, if she messes it up, and messing it up means she enriches herself by a couple of million, maybe it'll be worth it, and maybe she won't care about her political career or whatever career she has. So, but
always
she's
two sides to the coin, man.
Sorry?
There's always two sides to the coin.
Yeah.
That's true.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's worth noting that for all the love of Beşiktaş that our previous board members have had, they have done fuck all for the last 3 years. So
I mean, yeah.
Let's just hope that whoever goes in there just doesn't fail at this point. I don't know what else we can really hope for.
Yeah. Gürkan says, okay, what about Ismail Kartal? Yeah, my question would be, what has Ismail Kartal done in his career that would warrant him getting the Beşiktaş job? Because other than last season where he had Fenerbahçe, granted, first half of the season they were playing some terrific football. Let's not forget the amount of money that went into that squad and how much depth he had. He had so many options, look at our options on the wings, for example. Ismail Kartal last season had
what options?
Yeah, exactly. But how many wingers did Fener have last season? They had Cengiz, they had Irfan Can, they had Tadic. There's certainly some people I'm forgetting. Osay Samuel, Ferdi, who could play those roles. I mean, he had a really, really strong squad last season. They played some amazing football in the first half of the season. But then they looked in their rear view mirror, like everyone has in their car. They looked and they saw Galatasaray there, not dropping points, and they got really nervous. In the second half of the season, they shat the bed and they lost the championship. Yeah, they got 99 points, but don't kid yourself. They fucked it up themselves. The only reason Fenerbahce did not win the championship last season is Fenerbahce and it's Ismail Kartal. So I don't know. Okay, now everyone's like, oh, but Jose Mourinho now is worse and blah and blah and blah. Look, we were having a discussion earlier today about the 2020-21 season, about Sergen's accomplishment there. And Kartal was making the point, it was a very good performance, but it wasn't a miracle. And I was making the point, look, Rashid Ghezal, 17 assists. Atiba Hutchinson, 11 assists. Kyle Larin, 17 goals. Vincent Aboubakar, first half of the season, 14 goals. These are all career numbers for these guys. They were all having their statistically best seasons of their lives. That is kind of what happened with Fenerbahce last season, where suddenly Szymanski was scoring goals every game. But that stopped in the second half of the season. Like Ismail Kartal for a while there had a lot of players performing above their level, to the max of their ability or above their level. And I think
didn't Tadic kind of fall off in the second half of the season? Because he started off really sharp.
I think he padded a lot with penalties in the second half of the season, but I think he might have dropped off a little bit as well.
He definitely wasn't as like talismanic, right? Because the first half it was like he was just making goals.
Yeah,
right?
and Ismail Kartal also yoinked him a couple of times, did the same thing with Dzeko, did the same thing with Fred, upset those players, whether or not those were the right decisions or not. I just think that sometimes you have a period where players can rise above their own ability and really look better than they are. I think Fener had that last season, because if I watch Fener this season, yeah, okay, the football isn't as flashy as it was the first half of last season. I don't see that much difference compared to the second half of last season. I don't think Fener are playing worse necessarily. I think one of the main...
Should be playing a lot better, Can, if they're giving 12 million a year to their coach.
I mean, they should. They should.
Yeah.
But I think Ismail Kartal's performance last season is overstated. At the end of the day, he didn't win shit. And Ismail Kartal has coached other teams like Ankaragücü Konyaspor, I believe. Rizespor. And, like, he didn't do well there. Ismail Kartal is not somebody that has a great coaching career. He has had 2 good seasons in his career. Both were at Fenerbahce, and one was like... it was... One of those 2 seasons, he came out of a position where they already lost everything and there wasn't anything left to play for. There wasn't any real pressure. So for me, Ismail Kartal, that is not a serious option for me. I think that's.
Can I just say, the saddest part about this whole thing is that we're not in a position. I remember before we hired Gio and we were really analyzing all the options and looking at the way they played football and the kind of stylistically what they were doing and how many, defenders they were using and what kind of tactical analysis they were applying. And the worst part about these options right now is that we're not really able to do any of that, right? Like they're all pretty old school, kind of established Turkish coaches that, I couldn't tell you how Ertuğrul Saylan would put a team out in 2025.
Yeah, that's a big
but
question.
It's been a while, right?
Yeah.
It's been a while since we've seen him.
He's only just left the job at Kocaelispor and they're in a relatively good position. But, I didn't even know this, but Mary Abi mentioned it today. Like, apparently he's a FETÖ'cü, so that's already not an option then, I think.
Is that still a thing? That dude died, right? Like
he died. Yeah.
Let's put that stuff away now. No. I mean, I don't even want to touch that with a 10-foot pole. To be honest,
I don't think Beşiktaş wants to touch that with a 10-foot pole either. So I mean, Ertuğrul, I think, like I said, in terms of the more experienced Turkish coaches who have a title who have a championship to their name and stuff like that, I think Ertuğrul is the only Beşiktaşlı that is out there, because otherwise you have Ersun Yanal, you have Aykut Kocaman, and
Hamza.
Did you
Hamza?
Khan, did you buy Hamza? Khan, did you buy that story that that's why he was let go of by Beşiktaş because of his ties? Well, I thought he was let go of way before that.
No,
Beto
that was
stuff
way
really
before that. Yeah, that was
hurt.
like 2008. So
Yeah.
that was way
That
before
story
that.
didn't
So
line
I
up.
don't.
Yeah.
Back then, I think.
But I will say that I did feel it was a huge disservice to let him go when we did.
I always thought so.
I thought he was doing a great job.
I always thought that we would have won that championship much easier with Ertuğrul Sağlam. But like, look, I've said this before. I am not I am very clueless when it comes to all that FETÖ stuff. Like, that's not
Same,
my.
yeah.
That's not my. I'm not in. First and foremost, I'm not really interested in it. I also think that to the victor goes the spoils. So the history is written by the victors and stuff like that. So I don't know anything about that. Like, now people are. I think if the roles would have been reversed, probably would have been saying the same thing, but then in reverse. But like, I don't want to get into it. Anyway, I don't. It's not my thing. I don't believe in all that kind of crap anyway. Like, that's not my thing. So, but purely as performance as a coach, I thought Ertuğrul was a good coach for Beşiktaş back then. I think he got unlucky with some European results. Of course, the 8-0 against Liverpool and then the 4-1 against Kharkiv. That cost him his head. Then he went on to Bursaspor and he won the championship with Bursaspor. They had them playing some really great football. I was watching the other day.
Yeah.
I was watching the highlights of their wins in İnönü and Kadıköy. Both games they came from being down to winning 2-3. I believe both of them in added time. And like, yeah, it's crazy. They were playing some really good football. But what I remember,
And look at the players he did it with too.
Yeah.
Because remember, everyone was like, "Oh, well, of course." Like, he had such talent. And it's like, "Oh, really? Like, what has Sergen yielded him?"
Yeah, but
become
but
since,
also in hindsight, it's like, oh, but he had Volkan Şen, he had what was that, Bataja, and he had Sergen Yıldırım and all that. But like, that's in hindsight. He created most of those players. Like, nobody knew who Bataja was before that. Nobody knew Volkan Şen. Sergen Yıldırım was like 18 years old back then. And he, obviously afterwards his career went down the drain. But then I do also remember that he had the tendency to play pragmatically at times. And then there's the what have you done the last 10 years in your career, really? Like, he's had half decent spells here and there, but he hasn't really done great either. And then the other names on the list from Fatih Doğan was like Ibrahim Üzülmez, Tayfun Korkut, Sinan Kalolo, Tamer Tuna. Tamer Tuna, for a while we were saying the same things about Tamer Tuna as we were saying about Çağdaş. Remember when Tamer Tuna,
he was going to be Şenol Güneş's heir apparent,
Tamer Tuna
right?
was responsible for the success of Şenol Güneş. And then 5
that's
years
right.
later, we said the same thing about Çağdaş. He was responsible for the success of Sergen. They were the assistants from the champion makers. And then we were like, oh yeah, we have to follow these guys' careers. And Tamer Tuna fell off. Çağdaş is still going strong.
Actually, to be fair though, to Sergen, like, Çağdaş left in the summer of 2020. So Sergen won the title without Çağdaş. Whereas Şenol Güneş won both titles with Tamer Tuna. Tamer Tuna went to Göztepe, done a really good job for like a year.
Yeah.
And then we never won the title with Şenol Güneş again.
But what happened to Tamer Tuna since, though?
After that one good stint at Göztepe, he fell off.
Yeah.
I think he went.
And I feel
Tell me. I honestly don't even know. Where did he go after Göztepe?
I think he went to Sivas for a wee bit, maybe, and then
a wee bit means a little bit, by the way.
Yeah. So he followed up, because was that before Rize Çalınbay kind of like resuscitated Sivas, or after?
I think so.
Before.
No, before, because after Rize Çalınbay, I think Bülent Uygun came, right? So, or even somebody else before that, I don't remember.
Servet came and then Bülent Uygun.
Oh yeah, Servet, right? Servet Çetin, that's right.
Yeah. I'm glad he's not on the list.
No. But like Mehmet Özdilek, for example, like his coaching credentials aren't terrible. Like, I think almost everywhere he worked, he did an okay job. He was 5 years at Antalyaspor, but his last coaching job was, I think, 2022. So like, he's not been coaching for like 3 years. And the same thing is true for, I looked it up earlier, there was another guy on that list that hasn't coached Tayfun Korkut. Tayfun Korkut, in March, it'll be 3 years since his last coaching job. And Tayfun had a brief spell, I think, in the Bundesliga where he was coaching and was doing well and where he was being pegged as the next coach for Fenerbahce or Beşiktaş because, he played obviously for both clubs. But like, he's not really been coaching for 3 years almost. The same thing is true for Şifo Mehmet. And Ibrahim Üzülmez had a okay time at Gençlerbirliği for a while there, but then he fell off. He went to the Birinci League and didn't really work out there. Like, these are all, I think, with all due respect,
Failures.
I don't think Mehmet Özdilek is necessarily a failure as a coach, but I think he's like a mid-table coach at best. He has never shown that he could potentially be the next Beşiktaş coach.
I mean, I think what we could definitely say, failure or no, none of them are options where it's like we're looking at them because of their brand of football, or because of what they're doing on the pitch, right? Because we have no idea, like all of these, with the exception of the foreign options like Lucescu. It's like you have no idea what you'd be getting, and it.
I mean, I just think my pick of coach would be Schmidt, but I don't think that's going to happen with the current state of the team.
Oh, Schmidt.
Roger.
He'd be my top pick, but in this current situation and predicament we're in, I don't think there's a chance you get him. So realistically, Arda and Bilic for me. Also, Lucescu would be a higher pick for me too. But just like Schmidt, I think it's more realistic than Schmidt, but at the same time,
I don't know about that. Schmidt is without a job, and Lucescu has a really cushy job.
Yeah, but the thing is, man, like, do you think at least Lucescu's got a bit of a story with Beşiktaş? His dad was a coach, won the league. Lucescu's dad was our coach before, so he has ties to the club. His dad was very successful with us. I don't know. I just think that Schmidt's a higher profile coach as well, and is probably more likely to hold out for a top 5.
Yeah, but why is he a higher profile coach? Because he's German and because he coached PSV and Benfica?
He's coached in like big leagues, that's why. Like, but Lucescu might be the better fit for this. In fact, there's a chance.
I definitely think Lucescu is the better fit. And like,
do you not think in the European market Schmidt would go before Lucescu?
Yeah, because Schmidt's a German. I think there's the same. I don't think a Romanian coach is like, it's like a Turkish coach almost, or like a Serbian coach. Like, how many are there? Like, a Serbian coach can probably get a good job in Serie A if they have a history there. I don't see a Serbian.
But also, like, he's succeeded in Greece, right? Like, I think,
Yeah, that's also one of those things. Like, that's like Okan Buruk. Like, nobody in the Premier League is gonna look at Okan Buruk. Roger Schmidt is a German, and German coaches have this reputation. But if we look at success, I think Lucescu is the more successful coach.
I mean, that's definitely arguable, but what I'm saying, that's why I'm saying I think Lucescu would be easier to get than Schmidt, because
but Schmidt is without the job and got fired by Benfica. So, I don't know.
Yeah. I still think it'd be harder
right now.
Because he's more likely to hold out for a top 5. A top 5 league team. And don't get me wrong, man. Like, I think Lucescu could be a better fit because he's Balkan, he's Eastern European. He'll be able to deal with the shenanigans in Turkey. He's been successful in Greece, which is basically Turkey on a smaller scale.
The problem with Lucescu is you need to be able to lure him away. And
from that job,
we couldn't do it in the summer. Why would we be able to do it now? The only reason we might be able to do it is because of this 4-month ban.
Yeah, but that's why I said that. I still think he's unrealistic as well.
Yeah.
Like, I really think the realistic options we have that are potentially could be successful, I'd say Arda's probably get the biggest upside, but then my number 2 choice would be Bilic. But I think Bilic is probably the most realistic, for sure.
Yeah.
Because he's out of the job.
Ömer says, by the way, Ömer Gural, one of our faithful one of our faithful listeners and one of the members in the community chat as well, says Ismail Kartal wouldn't last 2 months in this team. We need someone stubborn enough to force these players to actually play again. I fully agree. I mean, I've been saying that for weeks. That's also why I was a fan of Sergen, because I think Sergen is somebody who could potentially do that because he'd give these players a kick under their arses. I don't think Ismail Kartal, I don't know, like maybe if he brings his son to fight with them a little bit, I don't know, man. I don't think Ismail Kartal is the type. Just like Gio, too nice. I think someone like Razvan Lucescu, I don't know exactly how he coaches, but if he's anything like his dad, I think he'd probably have a better chance. I mean, like Kartal said, guy's Romanian. I think a coach from the Balkan, either a Balkan coach or a Turkish coach is the best option. I don't think there's a huge difference between a Balkan coach and a Turkish coach. I think the mentality in the Balkan is very similar. That's also why I think somebody from Croatia could work. But then you have Slaven Bilic, who's a true Croatian. But then you have Edin Terzic and Niko Kovac, for example. I think both of them are born in Germany. So how much of that Balkan is still left in there, right? Like Edin Terzic strikes me as somebody who's also maybe too nice.
He's a friendly guy. He has a nice, friendly face.
Yeah,
I think
that's what he looks like.
I think Slaven Bilic he's an imposing figure. He was a big centre back when he played. Mm-hmm. He's got a bit of that tough man aura about him, but at the same time, he puts his arm around the player.
Yeah.
Makes him comforts him.
Well, that's also needed.
Has that perfect balance.
Yeah, but
you have to balance it.
You have to. I think as a coach, okay, there's like the types like what was his name again? Oh, I forget the Italian guy, like very stern. Used to be the English national team coach, but
Capello.
Capello. Fabio Capello was known as this taskmaster, very strict. Like, I don't necessarily think that works anymore with players these days. I think players these days are, people have changed. When Capello was coaching in the 90s, in the 2000s, like that was a different generation. It was people that grew up under different circumstances. We're getting like most of these players now are 90s babies and even 2000s babies. Like they grew up with a PlayStation and all that, like the kids that grew up in the 70s and they grew up playing football outside. Most of these kids grew up
stuck out in the rain.
Yeah, most of these kids grew up with a dual shock controller in their hands. So it's a very different time. So I think you need a little bit of a balance. I think a Slaven Bilic, somebody who's an imposing figure, somebody who you probably won't want to piss off, but is still also a little bit of a fatherly figure. Or back in 10 years ago, I think it was more a big brother figure, but now it could be a fatherly figure. I think you need that as well. Yeah. I think
that's why I like Bilic conceptually, because although his style of play is probably a little outdated.
Is it?
We all know. I mean, I suspect. I guess you're right. I suspect it will be outdated. But despite that, he has those intangible qualities as a human being that, like you said, right? You really get the sense that he could kind of, without using a whip, he'd still sort of whip these guys into shape, get them playing, taking themselves seriously as footballers, right? He definitely has that sort of paternalistic, impulse. So no, I would say, so I didn't even answer that question, by the way, back when you asked. Lucescu is my first choice. I think Bilic is my second choice. And my top choice as a Turk, now this Feto stuff with I was going to say Erzurum, but I don't know if I want to get involved with any of that shit. I've never been to Pennsylvania, anyone who wants to.
Me neither.
No, yeah, exactly.
I've never been to the US.
So I don't know who's my top Turkish coach option. Maybe Çaydaş Atan. Is that even?
Yeah, why not?
Is he available? Is that?
I mean, he works for Başakşehir, right? But maybe he's. The problem is,
he's loyal, though,
obviously, Beşiktaş is a huge step up from Başakşehir. The problem is
Is this situation a step up?
Yeah, exactly. He has a good job at Başakşehir. He's doing okay there. I don't think he's doing amazing or anything, but there's very little pressure at Başakşehir, like we all know, and they're making some good moves now on the transfer market as well. I think Çağdaş probably has a big hand in that. He's working on something there that for him could be, a stepping stone.
Fruitful.
If he can, next year maybe close the gap a little bit with Galatasaray. Yeah, maybe be.
Are they in Europe right now?
Yeah, they're. Well, they got knocked out of the Conference League.
No. I mean, sorry. Like in the Turkish standings right now, are they competing for
no
Europe next season?
No, I don't think so. They're but they're, you know.
I mean, they're in 7th. They're.
Yeah.
It's not like it's impossible. They're right behind us.
Yeah.
1 point
like,
behind us.
You know, Çağdaş, I think for anyone that goes for Arda, that goes for Çağdaş, that goes for İlhan Palut, I think all three of them are, first and foremost, they're working on their careers. I think they're all three of them, they're people who are thinking seriously about their careers. On paper, Beşiktaş is a massive step up for all three of them, but especially for Arda, for example, like Arda, like he could be getting attention from La Liga. You know, there were even some rumors last week that a La Liga side competing for the Champions League is interested in Arda. Like Çağdaş, I don't necessarily think he's gonna make the move to Europe, but like I think he could probably get the offer from Beşiktaş in a year or in 2 years or in 3 years.
Right.
Like, I think for him,
just wait it out.
yeah,
Wait for our situation.
I don't think that he's the type of person that needs to jump on this opportunity to become a Beşiktaş coach. I think the people that have to jump on this opportunity are people like Rize Çalınbay, for whom it was, you know, a second and last chance. I think Sergen, for example, second and last chance. And like those types, like for Ibrahim Üzülmez, like for example, like this would be the only way to get the job, because he would never get the job under normal circumstances. Mehmet Özil, like same thing. Tamer Tuna, probably same thing. You know, all those names that we mentioned earlier. But then you have, you know, the Razvan Lucescu's, who, like, why would he sacrifice another potential Greek championship for this mess? Slaven Bilic doesn't have a club right now, so for him it would make sense. You know, like, and that's where I've said this before. We are essentially a homeless guy sitting on the edge of the street begging for change. We can't like, we like to think that we're Beşiktaş, we're a big ass club, and we have the pick of the litter, but we don't. We have to pick the little runs that's left when everyone else has picked their pup. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I hope.
Sadly, I do.
Yeah, I hope that we can somehow convince someone like Razvan Lucescu or maybe Arda. But I think we'll probably end up with. I think we'd be lucky to end up with Slaven Bilic. I'll put it that way. Yeah. Because I think if you see names like Ibrahim Üzülmez, with all due respect, I love Ibo, but like as a coach, I think Slaven Bilic, if you look at those names and you look at Slaven Bilic is a no-brainer. And also for Adali, I think he's a safe bet. Because you bring in someone that's loved by the fans, who has in the past shown good things. Yeah, I think he's the safe choice. But now, today, Adali also confirmed that he spoke with Sergen, but that Sergen has chosen to take care of his brother. And he said, we are going to look at our options and we're going to take our time.
Ooh,
I don't know.
What do you mean?
What does that mean? You have 6 months, Mr. Adali, and if you screw the pooch, I hope you're out in May. Because honestly, I think he should have more credit than Hüseyin Yücel. But you can't afford to like, I mean, what is he going to do? Wait for him? The transfer window is opening soon. You have to start making moves. You have to have a coach. I mean, if taking our time means 3 to 4 days, okay, but you don't have 2 weeks. It's already been a week.
And like, we're acting like he had to wait until he sat down at his new desk to start working, right? Like you'd like to think that he would have been doing some work even before he got elected,
that's the
right?
thing. Okay, look, this situation with Sergen's brother, that's not something you can blame Serdar Adali for. That's not something you can blame Sergen for. But you yourself made the claim that you had contingency plans, so you should have been talking to option B, C, and D for a while. For the love of God, let us hope that you can get one of those. Yeah. Because if you have to go to option F, G, whatever, then you end up with another Fernando Santos. We don't want that.
Or worse.
Yeah. Well, worse. I don't know if it can be worse.
I was gonna wait for Kartal to come back to ask this, but he's MIA. Who did Arda Turan play under? And obviously we know who we played under in Turkey. But
Diego Simeone.
I'm trying to do them. So yeah, of course, Simeone for Atletico. At Barca, who did he play
Luis
under?
Enrique?
Luis Enrique, right? Not like Pep.
No.
Yet, right?
No, Luis Enrique. But I mean, Luis Enrique is a successful coach, both at Barcelona and Paris Saint-Germain. So, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't hail him as like a tactical genius by any stretch.
Well, compared to
Simeone,
Pep,
obviously, yeah, exactly. That's why I was hoping maybe it was under the Pep era. But I mean, Simeone also not like a super innovative tactic, but clearly he's done wonders with Atletico given the scale of what they're attempting. Right? Again, though, not the profile for what we're trying to do, as far as attacking attractive football.
Well, I think.
Kartal, what do you think? Like, what is Arda's? Who has inspired his tactical approach to coaching? So this is a question.
He said it's a blend between Luis Enrique and Diego Simeone. And Luis Enrique is he's maybe not Pep, but he's still a very good manager.
Yeah.
I think
So
I think Luis Enrique would probably be much higher regarded if it wasn't for Pep. I mean, I think he had the tough job at coming after Pep, right? And he did well.
Won a Champions League, I'm sure.
Yeah, I think so. And didn't he have like?
I think so. Yeah.
But
No, I think yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the thing with someone like Simeone, like we have to be realistic as well. Like, why has Simeone been so successful with Atletico Madrid is because he plays scrappy underdog football, and you kind of have to when you're Atletico Madrid. And let's face the freaking music, guys.
Don't say it, Khan. Are we the Atletico Madrid of Turkey?
We are right now, at least, kind of the Atletico Madrid of Turkey. Like, we're gonna have to punch up.
That's true.
Like, I think we all want to see a coach that has a attacking football philosophy, but maybe we need more of a nitty gritty fighter of a coach. That's not what I want, but maybe that's what we need. And then you come, like, for example, with Mark van Bommel, who is available. I wouldn't recommend it to Mark van Bommel or to Beşiktaş right now, because I don't think another Dutch coach would work out well. But you know, like,
I don't think we need to become like Atletico, man. Like, maybe obviously just now we're behind our rivals. There's no question in that, but like we are not Atletico Madrid, man. Like, we're a much closer third than what they are. Like, I'd say in Spain it's the big two, and then
but that's historically. You're looking at historically now. True. You have to look at the difference on the pitch right now, and like the type of money that our rivals are spending.
Like, if we are patient with a couple of years of good planning, we can get to that level.
Yeah, but I think we're kind of saying that in the interim. And in the meanwhile, right? It's probably not going to be one coach who makes it 2 years and like sees that whole thing through. So meanwhile, maybe we take that approach.
I assume like we need a board for starters that's not going to listen to every like one of the fan base. We need someone that's like brave enough and got that free will to take a decision and stand by it and see it through.
You know what we need, Kata? We need someone who keeps their promises. And who does what they say they're gonna do, and who do it in a timely manner, and who don't dig the fans around. Like, I know it's only been 6 days, but like, stuff should have happened, man. At the very least, that scout should have been appointed. Like, that was a big promise. That promise for a while there swayed you back to the Adali side. And where is it? Why is it? Yeah, exactly. Why?
I really hope it's when he officially is the president tomorrow. The first thing he does is appoint.
I really hope so. I hope to God this episode ages poorly, and that tomorrow we're all singing Adali's praises.
Yeah.
I really hope.
He's done it, folks. Yeah.
I mean, if
maybe it's like my editor. He's waiting for Monday. He's still celebrating the new year. Maybe. Still a little hangover.
But it's like it's. okay, Sergen, we all know he kind of had his reservations about working with a sporting director and stuff, and I think that's also why Serdar Adali carefully chose his words not to call it a sporting director, which I think is ridiculous. It's just recreating the whole Samet Aybaba situation in a way. But
we've got to get past.
But now that Sergen is off the table officially, I think you need to just be brave, as Serdar Adali is say, I'm gonna hire a professional. I am the board member responsible for football, and I am going to work really closely with a professional, and we are going to make decisions together, and we're gonna choose a coach. We're gonna find a coach, and we're gonna choose a coach together. I think that should be what Adali does tomorrow. Just appoint whoever he's gonna appoint as that not football director, and just work together with that person. And look, maybe he already has that person under contract, and he's been talking to him behind the scenes. We don't know, but like I feel like something has to happen, because it's tomorrow is the 6th, and the transfer window opens on the 13th, so it's still a while. But like you have to start moving those gears. Like stuff has to start happening. Like we can't go on much longer like this. Every game is worse than the previous one, and like the Athletic Bilbao match is coming up on the 22nd, and then we have Twente on the 30th. There's still a very slim chance that we make it to the next round of the Europa League. Like those two big European games. We have the Samsun game coming up soon. Samsun, who are a direct rival for third place. I mean, look, right now it's looking more like we'll be fighting relegation soon, but I mean, you have to look up, right? You have to look up, and Samsun is one of the teams you're gonna have to beat if you wanna get third place and wanna qualify for Europa next season. And maybe it's best for Beşiktaş to miss out for a year on Europe, maybe, but financially it definitely isn't.
We're 6 points back on them, huh? On Samsun.
Yeah. I mean, I think we're in a way we're lucky that we still have been picking up points. We haven't been losing everything. We still have been picking up 1 point every time almost. And those other teams are dropping points, losing games from time to time. They're not running away from us completely. But if you look at the football and you look at Samsun and you look at Göztepe, you look even at Trabzonspor, who have dropped 20 points in their last 9 games. Like, they're doing terribly. But the football...
Oh, man. I didn't even realize. They're almost in the relegation zone.
Their football is better than ours. Their football is better than ours. Somehow, the only reason we are not down there with them, Sinan, is because we picked up a lot of points in those first 6 games or something. How many... Like, under Gio, we picked up like 21 points. And now we have 27. No, I think we picked up 22 points with Gio, because we have 27 points now, if I'm not mistaken. And Serdar has gotten 2 draws, 1 win, 3 losses, if I'm not mistaken. Or is it 3 draws and 2 losses, something like that. So anyway, like to this day, we are still going. I mean, the only reason we're still where we are in the table is because of the points we got under Gio, and Gio has been gone for well over a month.
Yeah. I'm just looking. So we've got our first cup game on Tuesday against Sivas.
Yeah.
Terrible timing for the cup, because we really need results.
Away
in Sivas in the winter.
In the cold. That's going to be... Our players are going to be right up for that one. They're going to love playing there right now.
Yeah.
They're going to be so
That's
motivated.
really terrible timing, because we kind of need the cup now more than ever. And like we're at our lowest point, form-wise.
Yeah.
But then we have Bodrum next Saturday at 11.
Yeah. Question, guys.
And then Samson.
Is this season right now, is it worse than last season?
Yep, just now at this point, compared to last season, it's worse.
What do you think, Sian?
Why do you say that?
Why? Because we had more points at this time last year than we do just now.
Football's also
But
worse.
I mean, more about how do you feel about it? Do you feel worse than you did last year?
I mean, I think I'm starting to get used to it now, man. There was a time, see, when it was going bad on their Gio, and then when Gio first got left, it was a lot of disappointment, because the start of the season made us believe that we could have a very good season. At this point, I'm kind of just fucking used to it, man. There was a while I was in a dark place about Beşiktaş, man, but now I've kind of gotten a bit numb to it. Last season I was pretty numb as well. Obviously, the saving grace of this year is the Super Cup and the fact that we beat Fenerbahce. Last year we didn't win any derbies at all. In terms of points accumulated so far, these are points accumulated at this point last season. We had a lot more points last season, which is scary.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I consider the end of last season a low point personally, as a Beşiktaş fan, just because we'd seen our 6th coach, I guess, by then, and things looked really dire all around. I think Hasan Arat brought a glimmer of hope for a minute, right? So I think going into this season, we really felt like we were kind of moving in the right direction at least. And remember, I even predicted we were going to finish 3rd when everyone was like ready to win a championship. But I still was excited about it because it felt like, okay, we're going to be in a title race though. We're going to have a competitive year. So it's hard to say. I mean, on the one hand, yes, we got built up to get brought down again. But is it worse than last year? Because last year, I don't know. I really felt like things were dire going into the end of the season last year. But at this point last season, now that's where things get interesting. I mean, things were terrible, and I definitely felt like we had very little hope. Yeah, I don't know. We brought in. I guess it depends who we bring in as our next coach, right? Because we brought in Fernando Santos, and we were still down after that because it was like, this doesn't seem like the right move. If we bring in someone and we're all down on him, it'll probably feel a lot like we did last year. So I don't know. I don't know. You're right. I think the moral of the story is we're just getting used to this negativity at the moment.
Yeah, it really depends where we go from here. If we sign a coach that's able to improve things, sign a left back and 2 good wingers and maybe like a sub striker, and then we can go on to have a good second half of the season potentially. It all depends on what happens now.
Yeah. This
next move or the next few moves is going to determine how this is compared to this season. I mean, if we have bad signings, a bad coaching appointment, then not sporting director doesn't come. We could be on track to having an even worse season, which is hard to believe compared to last season. But if you sign a good not sporting director, if you get the right coach in, you make the good signings we're talking about, and then all of a sudden we can have a nice. Obviously we're not going to compete. That's out of the question. But we could have a nice second half where we could have some hope for the future restored. It all depends on what we do from here, man.
Yeah, I hear that. That's right. I think, if we bring in, let's say, Bilic and make a few clever transfers, not even a few, maybe just a couple. I'll feel like, okay, again, like maybe we don't have the long-term solution in place. Maybe things aren't where we want them to be, but we're hopefully going to be competitive again, and we're making the right moves to shore things up in the interim. Right now it's just hard to imagine. And I think what makes it so hard was our performance. On 2 days ago, I guess what it was.
Yesterday, I think, right? Was it 2 days ago?
Maybe the day before yesterday.
2 days ago. Yeah, it's 2 days ago. You're right.
But given how lackluster we were, and just how even our best pieces seem to not have the motivation to show up.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's I don't know if it's motivation. I don't know. I don't want.
Yeah, that goes back to our speculation.
Yeah, maybe. I don't want to say stuff like that about Rafa, for example, because I think he has shown every game that he's up for it, except for this one. I feel like, that's the only reason I even began to speculate, because it was just such a drop off from what we've seen of him. Like we've seen his bad form, and this was like a non-performance, I think, relative to that. So
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to.
There's a statement, by the
anything or
way, by Sergen
speculate
as
it.
well. He talked about their meeting with Serdar Adali today. They apparently had a barbecue, and he said that his brother Gürsoy has been sick for about 2 years, which makes me suspect it's the C word, and that he's going through some difficult treatment, and then apparently on like the 3rd or on like the 3rd or 4th of February, so like 2 days ago, he was taken into intensive care. And his brother apparently promised him that he would get better, but obviously Sergen said, I won't be able to focus, and this job right now it's a very difficult job, and it requires all the concentration, and I just can't commit to that. And I think, that's he could have taken the job, he could have taken the money, right? Like he could have been that guy, but I don't think we can blame Sergen, and I obviously wish all the best to his brother, and that he may get well soon. But that leaves Beşiktaş in a weird predicament. But also, I kind of feel that timeline kind of, for me at least, gives Adali definitely the benefit of the doubt. Like maybe this would have been done like the day after New Year or something, if something bad wasn't going on with Sergen's brother. But But then, of course, it also explains why the meeting was pushed. Because it was a few times. First, it was going to be, they're going to meet on Monday. Oh, no, they're going to meet on Tuesday. Oh, now it's going to be Friday. Now it's Saturday. Now it's Sunday. That also explains why it kept getting pushed back, I think.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But then it does not excuse, of course, the fact that we still haven't heard a word about this whole not sporting director situation. So...
Yeah. After the day, even the day of the election, he was talking about it in his speech.
Yeah.
Saying that he's going to bring in a top class head of scouting.
Yeah.
But then after he was elected, we've not heard anything since.
Yeah. I think he needs to address that.
Yeah, definitely.
He does.
100%. People might maybe voted for him because of that,
Yeah, and I feel like I have not seen anything in social media about people holding him accountable for that. Like,
they are. I've seen it. I have.
Yeah, but who? Like people.
Not big
accounts.
But
like us. Like people. Like the peasants. The peasants have been saying it. But like, where's Bülent Uslu? Huh? Let's talk about that. Where is Bülent
He's been
Uslu?
very quiet. Yeah, he's been very quiet, man.
Let's talk about.
He's a sellout,
that.
man.
Let's
He's
talk
sold
about
out.
That. So today, I think from yesterday's TGRT broadcast, or today's, I don't know. The presenter of, I guess, the program that Bülent was on for the longest time revealed that Bülent will not be returning because he's taking a job on the Beşiktaş Football AG, which is the company, the Beşiktaş company, essentially the football company that's publicly traded. But then later today, we were all talking about it in our group chat, and Özcan, your brother Kartal, who's a bit of a Bülent Uslu stan, calling you out, Özcan. Come on. He was defending it. He was talking about how he kind of liked the idea of having Bülent Uslu as the spokesperson for the club potentially, because
I agree.
Yeah, I know you agree with that. My dog keeps going in and out. I just noticed her there.
We've got a lot of pets in this episode.
I mean, obviously some people in the chat were not so positive about it, but it was looking like, I mean, look, somebody on a former colleague of Uslu said it, so I guess it must be true, right? But then later today, Serdar Adali came out and denied it again. It got denied before the elections as well, because there were already strong rumors back then, and Bülent Uslu was kind of playing into it with his poll, should I be on the board, stuff like that. And then during the election day, he was being interviewed, and he kind of, with a wink and a smile, said, if the job was offered to me, I could not refuse. But then today, very weird, oddly, then Adali denied it. So weird situation there. Like something has to be going on, but
it seems like maybe due to the action on social media, maybe they've changed their mind. That's the only thing I can think of. Because why would his colleague say that it's going ahead?
But why would his colleagues say it anyway? Why wouldn't it be officially announced first?
Exactly. Yeah.
So, but I haven't really been that active on social media the last couple of days. So what's the outcry on social media? Are people saying the same things I'm saying?
I mean, a lot of people like him. Obviously, he's got a lot of fans from him. A lot of people love the guy. But then there's also a segment of the fan base that don't like him. They think he's too loud, too outspoken, over the top, and they're basically thinking that the guy's just too unprofessional to be on the board. I mean, I see both sides to it, but I think in Turkey, in this setting that is Turkey, I think if he was the guy that was to go and speak after the games about the referees and shit like that, I think that could be beneficial in Turkey.
I think having someone who's loud and sort of rambunctious could be okay, but the way that he's channeled it in these last few months, and the way that he's inserted himself into backroom politics, and his famous "Go Home American" tweet and stuff like that, like that kind of stuff really soured me on him. And again, I as a non-Turkish speaker, I viewed him respectfully as one of the good journalists, who's just kind of doing his own thing.
And for the records.
Yeah, but you know what I mean, sort of new journalism, whatever you call it.
No, not even that. He's just a personality. That's all. Like he's not. He doesn't.
Well, he has like a show.
He'll say himself, "I'm not a journalist. I'm just a Beşiktaş fan." Yeah. That's what he said.
Sure, but he started a show, right? He's got like a presence. He's got a following. For better or worse, he's a part of the journalism landscape now, which is based on how he's referred to.
He's an important figure on the community.
He's part of the media landscape, but he's not. I mean, I think.
That's new media.
A pundit,
new media,
maybe,
not new journalism.
He's a
yes,
pundit,
yes.
What vest are you wearing, by the way, Cathal?
What was that?
What vest are you wearing? Sorry to change the subject there, Sinan, but I've been looking at that vest and I'm like, which one is that? I can't quite figure it out.
Yeah, I've wondered that.
It's the Kütahya Beşiktaş groups.
Oh, okay. That's neat. Nice. That's neat. Showing off his exclusive stuff.
His little posse there. Beşiktaş USA, if you're out there and you got some gear.
Where are those guys?
Seriously, they should have presents,
you
man.
You should think they would be all over this podcast.
English.
Oh, we have a new comment, and it's a Beşiktaş USA.
Hey, gringo!
Abduljan. Internet
Chicago
personality
boy
is a good way to break it. Yeah, I think he's one of those. He's an influencer. That's probably a better way to say it. Like he's a social media influencer. And
I'm giving too much credit to those type, right? Because I think in the modern age, for so many of us, that has replaced the role of journalists historically.
But it's not like the Turkish journalists are much better, are they?
Yeah, right. Like Sergen Yalçin over there is a champ now. I don't think so. Anyway, my point is that he. Atılcan also likes your sweater, Cathal. Atılcan, great, good, nice job with your Bulls yesterday. I'll give you a shout out. Derek Rose galvanized your boys.
But you know what?
Anyway.
Like my big issue with Bülent Uslu isn't the shouting. It's not. I actually agree to an extent with what Özcan and Cathal are saying. I think it's someone like that who just calls it as he sees it and just has unabashedly, unapologetic, just calls it how he sees it. And I think often that Bülent Uslu is like, he doesn't understand football sometimes, I think, because sometimes he's yelling about stuff where, I'm sorry, Bülent, but that's wrong. But whatever. But I think that he could definitely have a benefit there. The problem I have more is ethical, where I kind of feel like he's been almost campaigning for Serdar Adali the last couple of months.
Yeah, that's right.
The last month at least.
Yeah.
And
he has been like that was his candidate, man. That was the guy he backed. But I think everyone is allowed to back a candidate, man. Like you guys backed, you saying you
but the difference is though, Cathal, like he has a following of hundreds of thousands of Beşiktaş fans.
And Cathal, Hüseyin Yücel is not going to offer us a role in his board after. There's not going to be any speculation about conflict of interest. When we're done here.
I mean, I understand where you guys are coming from as well, but like it's obviously you're going to campaign for that guy if there's talks, if you're potentially going to be involved in his board. But
He should have declared that, and he should have said,
just say like I'm part of this.
Yeah, I think it's unethical.
I say they should have openly stated that from the start.
Yeah, you can't pretend like you're like objective for months and then be like, oh, and by the way, like I'm sort of in part saying this because I'm on the other team.
Nod and play like playing it up a little bit on your stream. Like, should I be a member of the board? I feel I don't know, man. That to me just that really just it annoys me. I think
that's what I was going for too.
I think he has too much of an influence. Like, I beg to Yücel. I also gave proper arguments why. I don't know if Bülent ever really did. Like,
well, his main argument was always because Serdar Adali said he was going to sue the previous board if he hears that 1% of what he's held happened. He said that's why he's spoken.
Which feels a little vindictive too, honestly. I don't know.
No, I think if malpractice, if there was any form of malpractice, I think people should be held accountable. And I believe the same thing about the Ahmet Nuhçebi period. I believe the same thing about Oman. I believe the same thing about Demirören. The problem is it's never been done so far. Like,
it's a weird time to start doing it too.
They should. You have to start it somewhere. If there's
Orban's been sued.
Yeah, but not by the club though, right?
Well, I think it is by the club.
I thought it was by other people. But okay.
He was sued by the club on several counts, but every single count he's been cleared of. There's only a couple left. It's ongoing.
I mean, for me, the main issue is I just think Bülent Uslu should have, if he's gonna be part of the board, or if there was even talk about it, I think he should have been transparent about it. Like, that's something, and I feel like now as well, like he's. What's happening with him now? Like, so he stopped streaming and all that, and he stopped with, like, something has to be going on there, right? Like,
I know he's had enough as well, because recently he says, before I used to fight with the Galatasaray Fenerbahçe fans, and now I'm getting a lot of shit from Beşiktaş fans as well.
Yeah, but why is that?
He basically just said he's had enough.
Yeah, but what do you expect when you come out and say things, when you make accusations?
It's not stuff like that, but like what you've got is that fair criticism. Like, there's been a group on Telegram that have been organising themselves to basically insult him under these posts. Like, see that thing with the lawsuit about getting the flag there and the flag on the building, and Arthur Mimir get attacked by that guy. Like, that because he didn't go that day, people were commenting under his post saying, "Oh, why were you not there, you fanny," kind of stuff. And then the next day, when they put the badge on the building, they said, "Oh, right," and shit, saying, "Oh, what is this fanny doing there?" He's like, one day they're saying, "Why am I not there?" The next day they're saying, "Why am I there?"
I mean, look, man, this is life on the internet, though, right? Like, you play stupid games and you win stupid prizes. I think, frankly.
Yeah. I mean, that's just Oh, there's no comment, by the way. Let's have a look.
Yeah, I was just. Serhat Kavas says, Bülent Uslu.
A lot. Insults against his kids and his wife. I mean,
yeah, well, that's never appropriate. I mean, but also par for the course with the internet, sadly. But Serhat Kavash says Bülent Uslu is a big cringe figure for most Beşiktaş fans.
I mean, I'm kind of on the fence on it. Like, I definitely agree that he's a cringe figure sometimes. I also think that he means well and all that. And I think he sometimes says stuff that's really harmful to the club that he shouldn't be saying. And he's clearly not a dumb guy, so he should be more intelligent and think about it more. But
yeah, I mean, I think he's just, his passion for Beşiktaş gets in the way of his rationale sometimes, because he is an intelligent guy, man. He's got a very successful business.
What is his business? You keep saying that, but like, what is his business?
That's the thing. He's never going to announce what it is.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but he has had that business for. He just does say he's had his own business for years.
Maybe he has like a little mom and pop shop that sells counterfeit Beşiktaş gear.
Underneath the stadium,
it's like part of it is like I think it's like basically teaching people how to use like equipment that's used on like building sites and stuff like that kind of stuff. Something like that. I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah.
But, like, you remember there was the photo of him operating the forklift, and then everyone was calling him the forklift operator. You don't remember that?
Sorry,
no.
I was just reading this nice comment.
Sam, the Juve comment.
Sorry, what
Yeah,
did you say, Cathal? I was spacing out there. I'm really sorry.
For example, like there's a photo of him on a forklift, and for a while he was getting trolled because everyone was calling him a forklift operator.
What's wrong with being a forklift operator, man? That's you need a heavy,
At least that's an honest
you
trade.
need a license for operating heavy machinery for that stuff. I mean, I know a lot of people do it without, but still.
And I think that's what the business is like. Like teaching people how to use that kind of machinery, or maybe
it's like a licensing program or something.
Yeah, something like that. I'm not entirely sure because he's never went into detail about it. But the guy's clearly got money, man. He's got like a holiday house. He's got his property that lives in Istanbul as well. People were taking the piss out of his Prada shoes that he was wearing when he went to that, like when they were putting the badge on the building.
I mean,
so clearly the guy's got some money, man.
Well, it's not true.
Well, look,
that's not true, Cartel. That's not true. It's not because you wear
people
Prada
can
shoes.
people can
It's usually
look
like people who wear a lot of bling bling are usually people who don't have necessarily a lot of money.
Or have only just come upon
Trust
some.
me. People who have a lot of money tend to wear cheap shit.
It's true. Just durable shit.
Not even that.
Yeah, well, I mean, depends, but
I mean,
look. Here's my problem with a lot of these internet personalities in general, and like I think something that we're always very conscious of. I think being not internet personalities, but having a show here. There's always this culture of like having to promote yourself and get attention for yourself, and there's this sort of notion that like no attention is bad attention if you're trying to make a name on the internet. And I mean, I guess my problem with Bülent Uslu in these last few months is just the way that he's tried to garner attention for himself and for his show. It's very like, look at me, I'm gonna say some controversial stuff, and it's gonna, and like he's almost into like he's like heightened the rhetoric to a point where it kind of like feels like he's one of these guys who kind of like likes the way his farts smell, and just doesn't have the sort of self-awareness to know that he maybe is going too far with some of his commentary. And part of it, I guess, is like he's getting more attention and probably has more viewers, and so it's the downfall of the internet in general is that like people are rewarded for making a lot of noise, and I think he's moved in that direction as maybe he's had more of his own stake in all of this, right? And I guess now we know he was going to be on this guy's team and all of that. And yeah, I mean, Khan's thing about how he wasn't transparent about that for me was a big problem. Yeah. But just generally, like, I don't like this saying inflammatory shit to garner attention, and so much of the internet is that these days, and I've gotten off Twitter, like I've tried to avoid so much of it. And that's what I feel like my main problem with him has become. I didn't know much about him going into 2024, and I had generally positive feelings about him for most of the year until really recently. But I don't know. I should mention I'm proud of us for not being like that. I think in a way we always try to measure our.
Well, we don't have like, the same success as Bülent Uslu has, so maybe it would go to our heads.
Yeah, maybe I mean, go to our head. You hope not.
That happens really hope to not. People, like I don't think necessarily that's what happened with Bülent. By the way, like I don't know. I don't hate the guy by any stretch of the imagination.
Hate is a strong word. I really just found his like verbiage to be over the top.
I didn't like stuff
bombastic.
While he's saying like he's throwing like carrots out there, but then like he's saying A but not B.
Yeah.
I don't like that. Like either you tell the whole story or you don't tell it at all. By the way, here
because then you're just stirring up shit for no reason, right?
Let's get this comment from Juve Cornercast. Ciao guys, new on this channel. Big ups to your podcast, boys. I have a podcast of my own supporting Juventus. Thanks for commenting, Juve Cornercast, and keep the black and white pride going, bro.
Right. You know, I went into my favorite cafe like a month ago with my Beşiktaş gear on, and I was just talking to the barista about the club. He's a guy I always talk to, and this guy behind me came in and he started like acting like kind of he knew what I was talking about. And yeah, he came out as a Juve fan, and he was talking about Kenan Yildiz is a huge Turkish prospect, great talent. So
Great
you know,
goal,
and he
the other day in the Coppa,
Yeah.
the Supercoppa Italiana against
Yeah.
Milan, but they ended up losing.
But so yeah,
Unfortunately.
that Juve guy was like black and white pride, or you know something like that to me. I'm on my way out of the cafe. So yeah, I guess.
You know what? I always loved Juventus's shirts back in the early 2000s. They had these shirts made by Lotto, which is
those were
a
great.
fantastic Italian brand. They made a lot of shirts for the Turkish clubs back then as well in the 2000s, like Gençlerbirliği, and like almost all the smaller Turkish clubs had like shirts made by Lotto. I thought those shirts were amazing, and Juventus actually had some of the best ones, man. Like that era with Del Piero, Trezeguet, Nedved. That's some amazing shirts. I don't like the new modern shirts like Juventus and Inter. Their shirts in particular, I feel like the designers are doing some weird stuff with their shirts. I feel like
I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah, that new
like
template or
I
whatever it
like
is.
the Intel ones, man. I think the Intel ones are always pretty nice.
I used to love those when they had the Pirelli and like just know the traditional stripes, and the same thing for Juventus. But now I feel like the designers are taking too much liberties, man. They're trying to be too edgy. I don't know. I feel like the home shirt at the very least should be traditional. Less is more. That's my opinion. I don't know.
Some of these Italian clubs, I mean, I hated their idea, but like Como did that weird kind of. You know, some of them are going really crazy. Like Venezia had a beautiful set this year, I think, if I recall correct. But
yeah, let us know.
Yeah,
Juve
this is
Cornercast.
Italian-
Is this something divisive under the fan community with the Juventus fans? Are you guys like? How are the feelings about the shirts? I'm curious. Like, we always talk about this because I think Kartal and Özcan and a lot of Beşiktaş fans, they always feel like, yeah, we should have our unique designs, and Beşiktaş tend to have unique designs, but I feel like they play it safe most of the time. Like this green shirt that was gonna come out this season, that's probably like the furthest out they've gone.
risk.
Like, yeah, the most risky move they've taken, I feel like, and maybe like flipping the colors on the striped shirt from black and white to white and black. I feel like that's like the most edgy moves Adidas has taken with us in recent years. Is Kartal still there? I feel like he's gone again.
he's here. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Kartal, you're a big shirt guy. What do you think is like the edgiest thing that Adidas have done with our shirts lately?
And probably the green one, man, because that's like a Gucci design.
Yeah.
But a Beşiktaş shirt.
I saw it with the sponsors on the other day, by the way. That actually looked really good. I thought it was going to look terrible. But that looked good. I can't lie.
We should have worn it on. Did we play on Christmas or right around Christmas? That could have been our Christmas jersey.
They could have done that same design with black and gray, I feel like. Why did they have to go green? I don't know.
I think the green. I mean, there's nothing wrong with green, man. It's a third shirt.
I liked it. I
Third shirt
man.
is meant to be-
I didn't like the imprint, the BJK all over the place so much.
I like that. I actually like that.
That's what makes it unique.
Yeah,
man.
that's what.
That-
I like that.
I just wondered if they could have been more like stylized or something. But no, I actually really like the shirt. I've worn it quite a few times. I definitely wore it when we played against Maccabi Tel Aviv, which is my little
By the way, Serhat Kavas says about Bülent Uslu, he's waged war against the board right after he learned that he was not invited to that famous restaurant opening.
Don't think that's true, man. Like, people are saying that, but I don't believe that. I'm pretty sure there was something where he was accused of apologising about something to someone else in regards to a fight. It was like a fight at a basketball game with like a mayor and like it's one of our like basketball board members, and our board accused him of apologising about that, which he never done. And I think that was where the problem started.
Why
there.
did our board accuse him? Like, what's our board doing accusing?
Like, there's some I can't remember, bro. I can't remember the exact.
I feel like this last board, like, they got way too caught up in like this internet stuff, man. Like,
yeah. I agree, man. I feel like the last couple of bolts have, to be honest, man.
Maybe. I don't know.
Like, no Chevy, man, they brought in Cheryl Ganesh because Twitter wanted Cheryl Ganesh.
Yeah, but I mean,
decided-
like, you can. I think that's something of all times, though. Like, whether it's on Twitter or it's in the stands, I think people were chanting Cyril Gunesh in the stands as well and stuff like that, right? So, like, people want, like a lot of Beşiktaş fans wanted Cyril Gunesh back. Like, we weren't among them necessarily. I don't remember if you were, Kartal, but I mean,
Yeah, I mean, I kind of, it wasn't my first choice, but I thought it was reasonable that he got a second shot at it. It happened.
How would you feel about a third shot, by the way, now after you've seen him at the Trabzon? Because I know one of your friends is keen on it still.
The third choice, the third stint, no chance. Not even before Trabzon, man. After the second stint with us, the way that ended, there was no chance of.
There were still after that, still a lot of people saying like he didn't get a fair shake and all that, and he should get another.
How's Ilke doing, guys?
Ilke and Ege Erdogan.
Wait, who's Cartel's friend?
Doruk.
Oh, okay. Really?
Doruk's apparently a channel sexual. Should we call it a channel sexual or a channel sexual?
Channel sexual.
Or just sexuals. I don't know. Sensuals.
Sensual. He's very sensual. Boy, that's a new low for Doruk.
Is it?
Yeah, maybe not.
I don't know. I mean, Doruk, gotta give it to Doruk. He's always got controversial opinions, but you know what? I'd love for him to be in the chat and letting us know his opinions, man, because like that would be some decent food for thought and
some banter at least.
Yeah, no, like I mean, I think it's good to have differing opinions. Like we've had people who want like a lot of people want only a Turkish coach, for example. A lot of people want a foreign coach. A lot of people want Arda. Some people really don't want Arda. Some people want Slaven Bilic back really badly, and some people want Şenol. Some people wanted Sergen really badly. I think it's good to have some differing opinions so we can have a discussion about it at least. So yeah, I'd love for Doruk to hop in and let us know a couple of his hot takes, because that would give us something to talk about for sure.
I wonder who he wants us to transfer in this winter. I bet those are some fun names.
Is there anything else that you want to discuss, guys?
I want to hear that transfer list now.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the last thing, though. That's one of those things, and I don't think we talked about it yet. One of the things that bothers me now is this is something that Hasan Arat was saying when he was running. The transfers are already done and they're ready. And Serdar Adali said the exact same thing. He said 2 transfers were done and ready. And the window hasn't opened yet. But we see...
You can still announce it.
You can still announce them. Başakşehir have done 2 transfers already. So why can't Beşiktaş? So where are these 2 transfers? I mean,
Grey Wolf has a comment, guys.
Oh, Grey Wolf!
Happy New Year!
Happy New Year, Grey Wolf!
Happy New Year! He says, I think Arda is the only option. He's the only one proven to have a successful season with a small club. I can't decide if you're... Are you calling us a small club, Grey Wolf?
Definitely play. We are right now. We are in relegation form. If we didn't have the 20-odd points that we got in the beginning of the season, we would be in the lower regions of the league right now. We would be fighting relegation. So I think that's a really apt comment from Grey Wolf. I mean, I'm definitely I'm for it. I would be 100% behind it. Not gonna lie, I am. Like, my first pick is Razvan Lucescu. I am perfectly happy with Slaven Bilic, but honestly, Bilic or Arda, I think I'd pick Arda. I don't know.
I would. Yeah, so would that.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I think I have Bilic over Arda, but
I'd have
I'm
Lucescu
not
over
anti-Arda.
anyone. Razvan Lucescu, I'd have him over anyone.
Yeah. Same.
bar Pep or Jurgen Klopp, of course, but realistically, of the people that we can even aspire to offer a deal to, and I think, you know, Razvan Lucescu, we've already talked about, maybe not the most realistic person, but like for me that's number one. But then I think Arda is. I would prefer Arda over Çağdaş or even Ilhan Palut, and I'm a big Ilhan Palut fan, but yeah.
Yeah.
I think I might prefer Çağdaş.
Çağdaş?
Çağdaş Atan.
Çağdaş.
Say it again.
Yeah, I heard Çağdaş.
I can't hear you.
I heard
Çağdaş.
Çağdaş. I was joking though.
Çağdaş.
Yeah, Çağdaş.
Çağdaş. No, I would prefer him over Arda. I think it's for me Lucescu, Çağdaş, Bilic, Arda Turan, and then everyone else underneath that. I don't like any of those names, frankly. I don't really like Deli Ibo or Şifo Mehmet or.
I mean, I love Şifo Mehmet and I love Deli Ibo, but not as coach.
Not as coaches,
Exactly.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
What about you, Kata? What's your list?
Maybe
Your
silent.
wish list.
Razvan, number one.
Arda number one?
Who?
Arda number one?
Razvan.
Oh, Razvan
number
Lucescu.
one.
Okay, sorry.
As I said, I think that's unrealistic. Two. I mean, if I can put Roger Schmidt on the
You can
list,
put him on the list. Of course, it's your list.
again unrealistic, but Roger Schmidt number two.
So Razvan Lucescu over Roger Schmidt?
Because I think in this moment he'd be able to deal with the chaos better.
Okay.
Three. I'd go for Arda Turan. 4. Slaven Bilic. 5. Çağdaş Atan. And 6. Ilhan Palut. End of list.
Okay. That's a great list. By the way, folks, we are about to end the stream, I think. So please, in the comments, if you're in the live chat, please also write a comment after we go off. Give us your list. I want to see like your top 3. You can pick whatever. Keep it realistic, of course. Don't come with Pep Guardiola or Jurgen Klopp or anything like that. But like, that's remotely realistic. You know, Razvan Lucescu, Slaven Bilic, Arda Turan, Mehmet Özilek, those types of names. Give us your top 3. Put it in the comments below, okay?
Khan, who's your coach that went to Milan? Conceição?
Sergio Conceição, bro, he's gone.
He went to Milan.
He
is
went
that
to
right?
Milan. He signed with Milan, yeah.
See, this is what Serhat Kavas just said is exactly why I don't have Arda as high on my list as you guys. And he says it. I'm pro Arda, however, he's pretty emotional. Already got sacked 3 times this season. If he starts with us, it gets upset. He would, whatever, dramatic speech. Yeah, and I always remember his reactions to refs and stuff when he was a player. Remember, he almost like throw his shoe at a ref once? Like,
What does he mean? But got sacked already? Get sacked 3 times? Does he mean sent off?
I think that's what he means.
I
think that
assume he
might
meant,
be what he
yeah,
means. Yeah,
like,
yeah.
carded out of a game.
I think Serhat might be a native Turkish speaker, but his English is pretty good. I mean,
Yeah.
it's good, but like sometimes obviously you're gonna get like word. I was actually accused last week of being a native Turkish speaker for the first time in my life, and that I was trying to sound American in one of the comments. I was like, "What is he? What is this guy saying? Like what?"
But I love how the like implied is that sounding American is like the worst thing. It's like, oh shit. So I guess you don't want to. I'm glad it's a good thing he wasn't watching when I was around. Apparently, that's a crime. Sounding American. Yeah, but so I'm inclined to agree with Serhat that Arda Turan could be a bit of a hothead. Is my only fear about him.
But is there anything wrong with that? Sergen's a hothead too, right? Like, I think that's fine.
Well, remember Burak Yilmaz and how that flamed out.
But the difference between Burak and Arda is that Arda, I think, is already a very competent coach. I think Burak has still a ways to go. I'm not saying Burak can't ever be. I know Kartel has a different opinion on that, I think, but I think Burak, could evolve into a great coach one day. But I think Arda is probably already a little bit ahead, and Arda also has the advantage that he worked with 2 of, I think, this generation's greats, especially Diego Simeone, but to a lesser extent also Luis Enrique. Of course, Burak does not have that experience. He worked with with Şenol Güneş. He worked with Fatih Terim, and who did he work with at Lille? He had a pretty good coach at Lille, but
It was a really good coach, man. What was his
Lucien
name?
Favre, maybe no.
Oh, it wasn't
No,
Favre.
it wasn't
no.
Favre. I don't remember, but it was a good. Oh,
Yes,
Gauthier. I'm pretty sure it was Gauthier.
Yeah, that's it. That's it, it was good.
Yeah. So he worked with a good coach there, but obviously that's not Diego Simeone or Luis Enrique. So let's read that comment in full though. I'm pro Arda. However, he is pretty emotional. Already got, I'm gonna say, sent off 3 times this season.
Yeah.
If he starts with us and he gets upset,
Yeah,
he would resign with a dramatic speech. Most likely. I don't know, man. I think Arda Turan, if he is given, if first he needs the backing from the board, very important. But I think if he feels that the board are backing him in full, I think Arda Turan is working very hard on a good coaching career, and I don't think he's just gonna resign on a whim. I think that's more something that maybe Burak would do or other coach. I don't think Arda would do that. I think Arda.
I mean, I could see him doing some of the angry stuff.
Oh yeah,
that
of course,
Burak did,
of course,
post match and
of
stuff.
course he's gonna do that, but that's fine. I think.
Yeah, I mean, give or take. I mean, some remember Burak went way too far a few times with his verbiage.
Yeah, but
anyway,
no, if you put the performance with it as well, if you perform well and then you
sure, yeah,
throw a tantrum out once in a while, that's fine.
Maybe you can handle
Grey
it
Wolf,
better.
by the way, said, or the Samsung coach Thomas Reis.
Yeah, that's what I want.
Yeah, also
I would love that guy.
Yeah, I like Thomas Reis.
I'll take him.
But I mean, put him on your list. Give us in the comments. Put it down there. Let's see the final comment.
One thing, dude, we have to acknowledge that Arda Turan's never managed under the pressure of a club like Beşiktaş.
Yeah.
So
I think I talked about that earlier. Like at Eyüpspor, very limited pressure, always, and had very good material, all that. So but we have seen his tactical acumen though, which is good. Final comment then from Grey Wolf, but that's what we need at Beşiktaş right now. Yeah, I think I agree with that. Anyway, I think that'll do it for this episode, guys. Thank you very much for watching. There will be a new episode soon, I guess, because we have a cup game coming up. So maybe on Friday or something, we'll see. The cup game is on the 8th, and it's the 5th today. So on Wednesday is a cup game. So
Tuesday.
Tuesday?
We're on Tuesday the 7th now at 11 a.m. here.
No, it's on the 8th.
So,
I'm pretty sure it's on the 8th. Maybe.
I just looked it up.
Really?
Yeah.
Anyway, we play Sivasspor away.
Yeah, Tuesday the 7th.
In the cold. So I don't know yet because I have something on Saturday, so I might not be able to do it on Friday. We'll see. You'll hear from us on our social media channels when our next episode is going to be. Hopefully, we'll have some developments in the coming days in terms of transfer news, coach news, scout news, all that kind of stuff. Maybe there will be some change. Tomorrow, officially, the first day of the new board. He gets the key to the castle tomorrow, supposedly. So let's hope that we get some serious developments in the coming days and that we appoint the right coach. Let us know in the comments down below if you are watching on YouTube, if you're listening to us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or whatever. Obviously, you can't leave a comment, but you can actually leave a review. So give us a 5-star review if you don't mind. If you are watching on YouTube, give us that thumbs up. Hit the subscribe button. Serhat, I don't think I've seen your name before, so definitely don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Thank you very much for joining us in the live chat, everyone today. Hit that thumbs up. Hit the subscribe button, drop a comment, and let us know your top 3, top 4, top 5. You can do what you want, at least top 3, please, from who you want to see as the next Beşiktaş coach. If you want to support the podcast, other than watching and listening, you can go to patreon.com/BeşiktaşPodcast and become a member on a 7-day free trial. And after that, it's $1.99 per month. And what you get in exchange is a VIP podcast at least once a week. In busy periods, it's can be more. And you also get early access to all our video content. We have started up, for example, a new series recently, the Black Eagle Stories, of which you can now see the first episode up on our YouTube channel. Go and check that out. Leave a thumbs up. Let us know what you think. Dara Hensi tells his story of how he became a Beşiktaş fan on the 15th of January in 2 weeks. we will have Mario Vargas's interview. Him telling his story about how he became a Beşiktaş fan. But all of that was already available on Patreon 2 weeks ago or something like that. Mario Vargas' interview is up there right now. If you can't wait until the 15th, go and check out Patreon and go watch it there. You can watch everything, access to everything for 7 days on a free trial. After that, it's just $2, actually $1.99 a month. So give it a try. Go check out our Patreon page. Thank you very much. And I'll hand the microphone over to my colleague, Sinan Schwarting.
Yo. I'm ready to do a freestyle here. No. First of all, thank you. Yes, like, follow, and subscribe. We're really grinding the mill these days. Khan is working his butt off over there, interviewing left and right. So yeah, support your boys over here. Check me out on Blue Sky, folks. There's no Beşiktaş community over there. It is weird. All of my American followers have moved there and are off of Twitter, but I still can't really use it as a social media thing because there's nothing Beşiktaş related there.
Yeah, so, I think Beşiktaş have an account and it's there's no posts.
There's 3 that could be their official account. They're not listed as official. Yeah, there's they need to work on that. But yeah, so check me out there. I'll definitely post that whenever we have a new episode up. I'll put it there so folks can
tell the people actually to go to the community scene, and that's how they can get in contact with you most easy.
That's right, and most importantly, that's what I was going to say next. Get in touch with us on WhatsApp. We have a flourishing community right now. It's going really well. Whenever anything happens, I mean, now that I'm not on Twitter, that's where I get all of my news. And so the boys are really good at keeping everyone informed and talking about all the latest issues. It's gotten even some of our, Kartal's twin is in there now, which I love to see.
Just need to get his daddy in there. Kartal, come on, man.
That's right.
You're slacking.
But so shouts to Uzcan, who it's good to hear talking again over there. But yeah, besides that, let's go Beşiktaş! Gotcha.
Go to patreon.com/Beşiktaş podcast. You can get the link there. Become a free member. You don't need to pay for anything. The link to the WhatsApp community is up there. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
And of course, shout to Özkan Zerzavaki, Atilcan, the Chicago Bull Malak, Paul O'Connor, Nathan Davis, big baseball fan, the Finnish Kebab, Dara, the Irishman Hensey, who I actually have to watch that episode. I'm curious. I've been in touch with him a little over the years. I want to know more about this guy. Mario, 1 and a 2 and a 3, Vargas. Once upon a time, our Carlito, although that guy is someone else, it turns out. Keith Gregory, Niall Tariq, and of course, the indomitable, extra planetary Dutch Eagle. Peace out, everyone. Keep supporting us. Whoa.